Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Let call to order for the DeSoto Parish Police Jury meeting for tonight. Mr. Kyle, do the invocation. Would you please stand?
Let's pray. Lord, we just come to you tonight, Father. We thank you for the many blessings that you've given each and every one of us. Father, we continue to ask that you would lead and guide us, Lord, as we make decisions that affect others. Father, we thank you for all the first responders, military, and everybody else that makes this meeting and this freedom possible, Lord. In Jesus' name, we ask all these things. Amen.
Amen. Please follow me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. President report, have none. Legal counsel report,
None.
none from the legal counsel report. And a call for additions and deletions to the administrative committee meeting. Being none, any guests and public comments to the administrative committee meeting. Being none, administrative item number 1.
All right, administrative items, appoint Ron Jackson to the DeSoto Parish Tourism Commission for the remaining term of Marvin Jackson.
So moved.
I have a, motion,
Mr. Parker,
Mr. Parker,
Second.
and a second.
Jones.
Any discussion? None? All right, Mr. Kyle,
Well, I'm just informing for the record that I'm going to abstain from voting just because he works
he works for
with
the
us.
bank. All right.
Thank you.
You don't want to accuse you of showing favoritism? Go ahead.
I love the man. I just avoid the appearance of evil.
All right, any more discussion? If not, we'll vote. All right, motion passed. Number 2, discuss and take action on implementing a hotel motel tax. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Baker,
Second.
second by Mr. Rowe. Any discussion?
Holmes,
Yes, sir. Mr. Mitchell?
this is not a new tax, it's just something that was, I just want some information. It's not a new tax, it's something that was on the books and then it was, taken off, is that correct?
It was
Yeah.
discontinued somewhere
Back-
around.
Correct.
85.
1995.
Oh, okay. The, Tourism Commission requested that it be reinstated.
They have not made a formal request. This was an item that y'all brought to me because y'all were going to take action back last year, late last year. And I had to research this issue to determine if the tax was still in place. And
Okay.
y'all passed an ordinance in 1995 repealing it. But we have about a dozen companies who are still collecting, or charging this on as a levy and remitting it to us, and there's a budget line item for revenue for this item. So, and I've noticed all the businesses. I've sent them a letter, copy the letters in your, making them aware. So if y'all want to take action on it and you would have to pass an ordinance again, another ordinance, which y'all have the authority to do up to 3%. Yeah, I just think, I discussed this with Ms. McCabe, I believe you need to do a public hearing before the final passage of that ordinance. So,
How much was it to begin with? You said up to 3%. Was it at the full 3%?
yes, sir, it was as of 1990, it was at 3%. So,
Yes, Mr. Parker?
What was the reason that this was done away with to start with?
I don't know what it was for. I understood, this all happened long ago, long before I came on here, but I understood it was supposedly just for the
Trailer camps.
campers.
Yeah, campers.
It was supposed to have been
Trailer
just done
park.
away with to give them a break. But you know, I don't know why
Because
the jury
hotels-
decided to,
It's been since I've been a jury that it's came up, there were some parks that were exempt from this tax, but if this tax was not legal at the time, what's been going on?
well, I understood the legality was, from what I understood, was the fact that the police jury, it was questionable as to whether we actually had the authority to discontinue the tax. It was a tax that was passed by the legislature,
Correct, in 1975.
and in actuality, whether or not we actually had a legal authority to discontinue was the questionable part.
And I can answer that, it's my opinion, you did have the authority, because the original legislation gave you the authority to enact it
Okay?
without going to the vote of the people. So that means you had the authority to repeal it without it going to the vote of the people.
But, Mr. Chairman, for me, at the time, it was to my understanding that it was just for the campers.
That's
But
the way I understood
that's
it.
who brought it to us.
That's
I had
the way I
no
understood
idea
it also.
that the hotels and motels was done away with as well. Now, that's the issue that probably be in question, should be in question.
Yeah, because hotel and motel is on say campers.
Can we discontinue for just certain people and not for others?
I can read you the minutes from 1995, exactly what y'all adopted, if you would like me to.
Yes,
Put that
please.
in the record. An ordinance repealing the parish tax on the rental or fee charged for the occupancy of hotel rooms, motel rooms, and overnight camping facilities within the parish of DeSoto, and providing the effective date of the repeal. So it was across the board, blanket across the board. Y'all repealed the whole thing.
I remember asking was for when the guy that came in for it, he was asking for just the campers. Because I think at that time, the oil work had slowed down, and some of them was leaving. So, but anyway,
Well, I can tell you, you still have some RV camping facilities who are charging it still.
yeah.
So
But they're still
if
not-
that
but
was
they're
the
not
original
paying.
intent, it never got out to anybody.
I know some B and Bs that are still charging also.
Correct, yes, sir. And the Sabine River Authority is charging it on the facilities down at the Toledo Bend, which, I mean, they're not exempt. Even if you had this tax in place, government agencies are not exempt from collecting it. So, they have to remit it.
So nobody's asking for it? It's been gone since 95. And
Correct.
nobody's asking us to put it back, right?
No, the
Well-
only request that came to me was whenever y'all discussed this last year, to research this issue to see if it's a tax that y'all have the authority to get rid of or implement, and I believe the Tourist Commission, prior to my appointment as your administrator, made the request, had discussed this, about this tax being on the books across the board for everybody. It wasn't just RV facilities. I think that was Miss Julie before. She was the one who said that she believed it should have been taxed at the RVs as well.
So if nobody's asking for it to be reinstated,
No, actually, I think the Tourist Bureau came in sometime back and asked that we reinstate that because that was part of their revenues. And remember, I think the other guy came in and kind of debated against it, Mr. Robbo Davis.
Mr. Davis.
He came in because he has a camp, he kind of rebutted it.
I think the Tourist Bureau,
Right,
they were wanting to reinstate
right,
it.
they wanted to reinstate it because that's a lot of to get a lot of some of their funding from.
so if we reinstate it, we would need to either draw up specifications of who we're gonna charge.
No, I don't think we should.
We're just gonna
Be in
charge
place.
all
I think
RVs,
across the
all
board.
all
Like
hotels,
it's
motels,
Yeah.
everybody.
Where it
across the
goes,
board.
it should,
Yeah.
where it should go,
Yeah.
across the board.
According to the state law, it's supposed to go across the board.
Yeah.
And he right, cause see, I rent in every RV park Sabine River got, and we do pay that tax. Now, why DeSoto not getting their part, cause one of those places sit in DeSoto Parish, at Logansport.
You said that some places were still charging the tax.
Yes, sir. I have about a dozen of them and copies of
I,
the letters and everything.
I understood one lady I talked to has been charging the tax and sending it in, but somehow or another, it's not getting to the tourist bureau either. It's not getting paid out, from what she told me.
Yeah,
Said that she was told, they said they would send it back to her and she could, and she said no, she didn't want it back. She wasn't gonna take it back because that'd be illegal for her to collect it and not send it in.
she'd have to refund it back to the people who've utilized those facilities. That's the refund. She would have to give it back to her customers before she could apply for a refund. But she would be qualified for a refund.
So who is getting the money? Where is it? Just sitting in an account somewhere? Or?
If you're talking about the Airbnb group,
Or anybody
Airbnb
that's
is
paid it.
probably remitting that to the local collector, but right now, our local collector only collects for the city of Mansfield. So it could be going to the city of Mansfield. I don't know. That's privileged and private information protected under Title 47-1508. So we wouldn't be able to, I can go over there and ask him and inquire about that specific vendor to see if Airbnb is remitting it to them. But Airbnb self-registered with a lot of the jurisdictions about 4 years ago because we, as a former administrator, we sued them because they were collecting the tax and not remitting it. So.
And who did you say is collecting the tax now? You said our
For the
collect-
city of Mansfield only, the occupancy tax, your central collector, the tax administrator, he collects that for them. He does not collect that for us. They send it to us. The jury is the designated collector for everything that's outside the city of Mansfield.
And what are we doing with it?
We turn it over to the tourist bureau, less the 6% fee that we get for collecting it.
fee out of it.
Okay.
And right now, that budgeted item is at $185,000 for the tourist bureau. But it's likely to go up if y'all re-implement this tax, because that's going to be across the board on everybody.
Anybody else? I take it we're gonna leave it like it is, or we're going to implement it?
We need to
I think we need to.
Need a motion?
I think we need to
make
do
the motion to implement it.
All right, Mr. Ross makes a motion to implement the tax.
Yeah.
Second,
Have to hold a public hearing.
Ms. Burrell.
Ms. Burrell. All right, and we'll have a public hearing on it.
The next meeting date is the 20th.
20th.
Public hearing on the 20th.
All right. So I have a motion by Mr. Ross and second by Ms. Burrell to have a public hearing on the implementation of the hotel motel occupancy tax.
And we'll have an ordinance drafted for y'all at that time.
Okay.
Hotel, you gonna include the RV?
Do I have a vote on
Mr.
that?
Holmes, let's go home.
Yes,
Mr.
hotel,
Holmes.
motel, RVs, yes.
Yes.
Oh, I was just, whenever you get a chance.
Yeah, go ahead.
When would it be implemented? I mean, if we do vote this through, when would it be implemented? The tax, when would it restart?
It would be
Probably
my
take, what,
recommendation.
90 days?
It would be my recommendation you give at least 90 days. Yeah, because you're talking about new businesses having to start collecting this, and you give us time to gather that information, because it's a voluntary tax. I mean, you register, you're supposed to, law says you're supposed to register and start reporting that to the collector. Now, going beyond that, it's probably a good idea that you centralize all that stuff and have the collector do that instead of the jury do that, because he has specific authorities that we do not, that make it easier for collections. But that's another issue.
Does that need to be part of the resolution?
No, you don't have to put that as part of you can do that by agreement. You can just do a contract with them to collect it for us.
All right, any more discussion?
What are we actually voting on now? There've been like two motions made here.
Yes.
Two motions? What was the motion?
One was the motion that's on there to adopt the
To
ordinance.
adopt it.
Then you said we're gonna meet at the next meeting and decide. So
I think
what
we
are we
have-
actually doing?
No, having a hearing.
Have a public hearing on it,
at Next meeting.
and then we'd adopt it after the public hearing, I take it. A motion to, have a public hearing?
Yeah.
No more discussion? We'll vote. All right, item number 3, authorize the president to sign a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Opioid Abatement Administration Corporation.
Move.
Have a motion by Mr. Rowe,
Second.
second by Mr. Mitchell. Any discussion?
Have we determined what, I know back when we discussed this previously, somebody was gonna figure out what this made us do in the future? What ramifications, what responsibilities we would have as a jury?
That was the packet of information we sent y'all. You are required to spend the money in accordance with that task force, the guidelines that they've set up in that task force. So there probably are a lot of opportunities to spend that money, but if you do, you will be audited for this. And this is a program that's gonna last 18 years. I believe it's about $354 million that is anticipated to be collected from this over 18 years. And the jury's participation in this, the DeSoto Parish jury's participation is you would get 0.35% of the opioid penalty that's assessed. And that's administered by the regional groups. And the regional group is Caddo Parish in our region. We're Region 7. So, but if you implement a plan, it has to be in accordance with the guidelines that they set up in there. If you use the money, for example, at OCS, or if you use the money for some, I think the DA's office does some programs with helping people who've come out of a domestic abuse situations as a result of drugs. You have to spend it in accordance with that. Do you have any other recollection, Lily, of, they're pretty strict on that. We couldn't use, in other words, you couldn't use this money on roads. You couldn't use this money on operations or anything like that.
I just think it'd be prudent on us to maybe add to an amendment to that if we adopt it, that we don't create any monsters that come up to bite us down the road. In other words, we only fund programs that will be funded by the fund, by the money that's generated.
Yeah.
Because the money's gonna run out,
It's gonna run out.
and we're gonna have we don't want a big monster at the end of the money,
Right,
basically.
unfunded mandate, I agree, yes.
Yes.
That would be a separate I would recommend you do that by ordinance, you can do that at a later time.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Mr.
is this
Fuller?
the same funds they were talking about, the judges was talking about trying to control? All the judges in the state of Louisiana?
Not to, I don't know which fund you're talking about, but I don't
Came up
think
to one of the
so.
meetings about one of these things, where they were trying to pass a bill or something where they would control that particular money. I don't remember that.
Well, from my understanding, they wanna, I don't know about control, that may be a strong word, but they want to have a say in the programs that are created, because they're gonna be the ones assigning people to those programs for those type of offenses.
Is this the same fund?
I believe it is, yes, sir.
Why is it?
Yeah, we gonna do the program, or it's gonna go somewhere else and let them do the program?
My suggestion would be assign it to somebody to do it, because we're not set up to instrument.
That's really clear, is it? Who's?
To answer your question, that's my question, is I've read the packet of information, and there is no
Specific.
explanation of who's controlling it. The way I look at it, and the way I read it and understand it, is we're gonna hold a fiduciary responsibility for the money, But we're not in control of any program or who goes to it or who doesn't go to it. We just are responsible for the money and how it's spent.
Okay, well, see, I really want to know that because I can see the fly on the wall. And, I've already heard that the judges and all that trying to get control of this money. And I'm about tired of giving other people control of the parish money that we gonna be held responsible for. We got enough of that going on now. I mean, I want to know where this money going, who gonna be in control. And if we gonna be responsible, we need to take responsibility for it. I mean, they're letting this money go over here, we ain't holding people accountable, they ain't got to say what they doing, nothing, they just getting this money, and ain't no accountability. It's time out for that.
Why don't we, just look and see what other parishes are doing, how they are implementing it.
Is there a deadline on this?
I don't know of any deadline. I do know that if not all parishes sign the CEA, nobody gets any money. So they're waiting on all the parishes to sign, and they don't have all the parishes signed yet.
Do
Quite
we
a
have
few.
access to know what parishes have signed?
I'm sure we can make that request. Yes.
There's quite a few that haven't.
I would like to see the ones.
Sure,
Me
the
too.
parish is
I would like to
getting the
even know
biggest.
their reasons for not signing. Are they similar to ours?
They may not know about it.
Well, I still would like to know whether either they don't know or they don't want to hold that responsibility, but I would like to know who have signed.
I think we probably can get a list by the next meeting of who has signed, because that was available. Didn't they give us
Did
that
we get
information
that?
at the presentation?
I know, Natchitoches Parish has signed.
Oh, okay, I do remember.
I do know they have signed, and I actually had their treasurer call me and say, hey, have y'all signed? How are y'all spending the money? Cause they're trying to get some guidance on how they're going to do it too. But they have signed their CEA. I believe Caddo has. We can get you a list.
Okay, so,
But I would make that request of the task force. I wouldn't, I'm not gonna
I understand.
direct anybody to call all the parishes.
Oh, no.
Task force should have that readily available.
On the task force can't be completely made until all the parishes sign, according to that document you.
Right,
So-
but there are, I think they have some attorneys currently working on getting everybody to sign. So I think they are the task force at this point. It doesn't have any authority yet, but
But can the Police Jurors Association send it out the information to every parish?
well, they're the ones who first brought it to our attention. So yes, sir. I mean, they're the ones who sponsored the event when we first went and talked to them about this issue. So yes, sir,
Mr.
we
Parker?
can.
I hate to be repetitive, but Carl Kennington brought up a real good point at the first of this discussion. 18 years from now, when this program goes busted on our money, I don't care what kind of ordinance we write in, saying that we're not gonna do this at the end of that 18-year deal or when the money runs out. The people that's getting the money will be so used to getting it, we're gonna have a hornet's nest around our heads trying to end this when we run out of money. That's the problem I see, because odds are none of us will still be here, except maybe some of you younger
Can't worry
guys.
about that.
But
I ain't worried about nothing I can't be here for.
the thing is though, what happens when this money runs out and we can't continue the program? The people that's dependent on this help and stuff.
I'm not.
It runs out,
When
it's out.
Only help while you
it
can.
runs out, don't it? The program should end. If we don't have, we can't
They
get
don't
blood
run
out
out
of
of their need
turn.
for it though, that's the problem, and they've gotten dependent on it.
Well, I'm sorry. I mean, we can't give enough we don't have. If it run out, we out.
Mr.
Why
Kennington?
do you give them something and give them the hope, and then you know you're gonna take it away from them?
Mr. Kennington?
I'd make an alternate motion that we defer this and bring it back as an old business at the next meeting. And maybe, that's the alternate motion, but with that, if you could check with some of those people that are gonna be administering opioid issues, whether that be the sheriff, the judge, the DAs, whoever you think is gonna be setting those programs up, get some ideas from them, what they'd like to see done with it, and report back to us, or get us some ideas of what we can do with it. I'm sure they know programs that they sentence people to.
Are you talking about the third Monday or next month?
2 weeks.
Are you talking about the third Monday or next month?
Third Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, we can bring it back as old business anytime we want, but I was just saying next meeting in 2 weeks.
That's what I'm talking about. The next meeting as in, I will follow? Okay, go.
Yes, sir.
So possibly having them to give us a list of programs that they.
Or just an idea.
Idea.
I
Doesn't have
second
to
that
be a
motion.
See
fully
where it
developed
goes.
program, but let's just,
I agree.
I second that motion.
I have an alternate motion by Mr. Kennington and a second by Mr. Fuller to defer until next meeting, 2 weeks from now. Any more discussion on that? All right, Jody? All right, item number 4, authorize the DeSoto 4-H to use a small portion of the grass area directly behind the Dave Means Memorial 4-H barn, also known as the old P-Patch, for our ATV safety training course.
so moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Kennington,
Second.
second by Ms. Trina Boyd. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, I want to discuss this, and before I make this statement, don't y'all go out and tell the folks I'm trying to shut down the 4-H building. My job as a jury to make sure that we are protected. I have no problem with it as long as the insurance is covering us. And I also would like to see a copy of the policy, because last time that little one piece of paper was nothing. I want to see it like we have to do it when we rent the 4-H building. We have a whole policy. It tells us what is covered and what's not. So when I call and ask, can I see the policy, I don't want to have no confusion about it, because my job as a jury is to protect the taxpayers of DeSoto Parish. Thank you.
How large of an area are they talking about?
Mr. Parker, if you look at, there's a map in the packet that
Let's look
shows
at
you
that
that,
map.
that,
They talking about the old P-Patch
I know
behind.
what they're talking about, but it don't tell me how big
It
an area.
didn't say
The old
anything about how
P-patch
big
went
it
all the
is.
way from the
Maybe
4-H
5
building
acres.
it's,
all the way
it's,
up.
it is, no, it's not even 5
Not
acres.
even
It's it is, if you look at the map, that area that's squared off in black ink, that's a very small area that they're referring to using.
I'm just asking.
Yes,
An
sir.
acre, 2 acres, 3 acres? How many? How much?
I'd say it's probably about an acre, not even more,
it's not that big.
much more than an acre.
We don't have anyone to.
Oh, it's
Well,
more
they
than
pretty
acre.
tough, put
How long they
something
talking
on
about?
to train them kids on an acre, 210 by 210.
I sat down with the 4-H ag agent with this map, and I said, you need to show me on this map, because the jurors are gonna ask where you're gonna use, and
And
he
so
highlighted
nobody be
that.
confused,
Yes, sir.
I am gonna vote for this, because I do believe in letting these kids learn how to ride under some sort of supervision. Because I see what happens to these kids when they don't have supervision.
Exactly.
So I'm not against the program, I just wanna know how much land they actually gonna use in case we wanna develop something else out there. I don't wanna have to take it away from them.
Is this something that's gonna be set up permanently, or
That's what I'm.
just,
As far as the letter
Temporarily,
says,
I
they're gonna
took
do they're gonna do a training course on this, a safety training course in that specific area that's highlighted on the map. That's,
is it gonna be a one-time thing? I understood.
as far as I know, yes, sir.
I was going to say. No, they ain't gonna work
I
with
think
me.
the time
It's
limit, if you
permanent.
can find out the time limit, that would be fine for how long they plan on doing, using it, so.
Oh, yeah, that's simple. Yes, sir, I can do that.
Cause I got plans on this agenda for that area, so that wouldn't work for me. Not no permanent.
All right, any more discussion? If not, vote. All right, item number 5, discuss and take action on the occupational license issued for the Highway 5 barn.
Okay, oh, I put that on, the sheriff issued a temporary, what you call it, Mr.
Injunction.
Injunction.
No.
I have to make a motion.
You make
to
a motion.
discuss it.
Oh, I so moved,
All right,
discuss.
have a
Second.
motion. Second by
Ross.
Mr. Ross, all right.
Okay. The sheriff issued a temporary injunction on Highway 5 barn about the activities taking place up there with the, I'm not finna let the trail riders take that lick, cause most of this wasn't even trail riding. These other kind of shows. And I'm just had enough of the trail riders taking the lick for something that they didn't do, because this ain't been no trail riding. If you read the injunction, he telling you in so many words that it wouldn't. They added the trail riding, but very few of these events been trail riding. They done had freak nicks, all kind of stuff. You name it, they had it. And every time they have something, trust me, I'm getting the videos of what's taking place up there. I done got so many calls at some point, I done drove up there myself to see what's happening up there. But,
What you take?
I mean, some of it's so vulgar, I couldn't dare show y'all. I showed him one day, he like to fell out for dead. So, this one time, me and the sheriff gonna have to agree. Because they are lying. Caddo, most of the problems we have, even with trail riding, it don't be the people in DeSoto Parish. They know how that, cause us old school trail riders raised them right. It's the ones coming out of here into the parish, out of Caddo Parish, and Bossier Parish, and Texas, Washington. They come down here with the fighting, the shooting, the, all this. For a matter of fact, I was there one night, they ain't know I'm sitting out there. I heard the DJ when he say, oh, well, we ain't playing no Zydeco and we sure ain't playing no blues. This all rap and we finna freak Nick. And when I tell you a freak, it wasn't neat though. See, the trail riders I told y'all about them days of Duke. We don't do that. We have a dress code. You have to dress like a real cowboy and real girl. They don't come up with all their butts out. That's the stripper club. I'm telling you, they brought Cocoa Palace.
Down here.
They done brought it down here to the trail rides, and I'm tired of the trail riders taking a lick for it. So this one time, me and the sheriff gonna have to agree. Because it don't make sense. And I love my parish. They ain't gonna bring that down here. That foolishness. That's what I call it. When you got to go, and then they rented out club, the real trail rider club that was having ride there, they canceled them. And they'll let these folks come because they can make more money. See, they can make more money because they know Caddo and both these people that they call themselves organized what they call a club. That's just to have these functions that's been barred from every other parish but DeSoto. The occupational license, this what's happening. And I addressed this when we was in the workshop about the trail ride. And y'all wanted to do it. And I said everybody need to follow the same rules. Did I not say that? But y'all said the people with the occupational license could do it. It ain't fair to the people that trail, but we have to go nearly through an act of Congress to get a permit. Everybody needs to get a permit, in my opinion, whether they got occupational license or not. If they hosting a ride or car show or any of these other functions they having at these places, then these places need to make sure they apply for for special event permit. Everybody needs to come up on the same rules. Everybody needs to follow the same rules, because what they doing is they skipping us with that special event permit, and they going to these places that got the occupational license, like the club, Highway 5 barn, because they know they ain't got to follow the rules. They don't have to follow the rules of what we have set for. So, hey, it is what it is. I got to call it a spade a spade. We do need to make some changes. We do.
What kind of occupational license does this place have?
I believe they were issued a Table 1 retailer's occupational license.
A retailer.
Yeah, I've since met with our group, and they should have been, they're actually, event center coordinators are under the wholesalers, Table 3, which is, it's just a different table for which you calculate how much they owe their occupational license. But irregardless, they've been issued one from Table 1, which is a retailer, under retail sales.
And what does that allow them to do?
It allows them to operate, it's a business license. It gives them permission to operate their business within the parish of DeSoto. That's it.
I mean, do they have a limit on how many people can enter the building
That has
and
nothing
things
to
of that
do,
such?
I mean, they have to have an occupancy limitation set by the health department and stuff, if there's a building, if they're occupying a building. But that has no bearing on our occupational license. Our occupational license that's issued is based upon their sales. If they have an ongoing business, someone can set up a fruit stand on their property and sell fruit. They would have to have an occupational license to do that. They're conducting business in the parish.
Mr. Kenny,
Go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Go ahead.
When we issue one of these to, like, say tomorrow somebody built one of these and came down here and got the same permit, do we require any documentation that the fire marshal has done an inspection or signed off on anything, or that the health inspector has signed off that they have enough space, or any other requirement, or do we just get their paperwork and their money and say, here?
Essentially, we've been getting their paperwork and their money. If we do anything more specific than that, I'd have to defer that to our finance division, the ladies who've been doing this for years. But I go based upon the experience that I've had in the other location. It's, in Bossier City specifically, I collected their occupational license, but when we issued one there, their ordinances, which follow state statutes, say you're operating a business, as long as you're abiding by all the laws and regulations within that organization, which I would think, if you're operating a building, you would need to have a health inspector come and check it out. The fire marshals would need to come and check it out. And once that's done, it's just done on a renewal. Whenever they we submit a letter to them, hey, it's time to renew your license. They don't have to provide all that information each year. That was done initially, I believe. So.
Mr. Rowe, do you know, I know you construct commercial buildings, but whenever you construct a building, there's something that triggers the fire marshal coming in, and you have to do certain steps, and usually occupational license is one of the last steps, correct?
That is the last step. He'll come in, do an inspection based on square footage and tell you how many people can be in the building, how many people can be in the parking lot, how many vehicles.
So it sounds to me like maybe we're not clear on, maybe we need to clean up
We need to clean up.
how we issue those.
We need to get the fire marshal a letter, and we also need to get one from Board of Health, because bathrooms are also required.
Mr. Fuller,
My
yes.
concern is, with the occupational license, I don't want to infringe upon anybody's rights. I understand what Ms. Burrell is saying, but, we need to make sure, if we do put something in place, we're not infringing upon their rights as, whatever the occupational license is, so that's what I would like to make sure of.
Well, I don't think we'd be infringing on anyone's rights if we issue them occupational license based on how many people could go into a building. That's just a law. I mean, that's state law. Fire marshal, says how many can occupy a building any given time. If this person wants to host something that's gonna be 3,000 people, then they need to have a building that'll host 3,000 people.
Exactly.
And if they don't have a building that'll host 3,000, then this shouldn't be going on.
Well,
And that's not, taking anybody's rights away from them at all. That's just making them comply with the law.
And they did it
This is
with-
a way, it seems like somebody's trying to get around the law. you know.
I mean, Mr. Fuller, let me explain to you, cause see, in Pelican, it used to be a club called Club Artesia. That's the first place our riding club started their organization, was down there. They made us, we could not have over a certain amount of people. Trust me, they came to check it. We couldn't have alcohol after a certain time, and we couldn't have lightering after a certain time. And we were told that that was the state law, and we had to abide by it. So we had to abide by it. So one thing I'm saying about these people with these occupational licenses, we can't keep allowing these different people and organizations to come in and skip that special event permit, because that's exactly what they doing. We got to tell the truth about it. We can't fix it if we don't admit it's broke. And what they are doing is using the occupational license thing to skip what us, the good people, have to endure to get a special event permit. So we need to incorporate something close to that special event permit to these people with the occupational license. I'm gonna have to agree with Mr. Holmes. We do, cause I'm telling you, it's done got out of hand. Cause it's club on the 17th. I'm telling you, I know. It's gonna be a shoot the roof.
And then, Mr. Ray, I agree with you totally, but my concern is, like I say, with the special permit, like I say, if the occupational license, if they have the number of people that it allows, it's still not gonna stop, you get what I'm saying? It's still not gonna stop them from doing what they do, as long as they up under the number. But what I'm saying, that's why I said we need to make sure if we put something in place, it won't infringe upon their rights as have an occupational license, but it will, kind of make it comply with what we want done in the parish as a whole. That's what I'm saying. Like I say, because if you've dropped the number down where they say only 500 people can be there, they have 500, but they're gonna still be doing the same exact thing. So you have to make sure something in place to stop them from being able to do,
The sheriff often put something in place. They did just like they did with Club Artesia. Put an injunction on them, and ain't nothing we can do about it, because that's his right as sheriff. His right, his job is to serve and protect. And if all that's taking place, and I know, because they be up there, I know. I was up there one night, people calling me, they calling me. Miss Burrell, and I know why they call me, because at first I defended the trail ride. The trail ride, not the car shows and the booty shows and all that. I didn't defend that. Know what I'm saying? So I go up there, because the people called me, and they were stopping people. And the next day I get a report they took 65 guns. What in the world we need with 65 guns to go to a function?
Yeah, 65 what?
Guns. Guns, Mr. Fuller, and at all the rides that these people, these things, they stop you at the gate. Now, I have to admit, they got some good security, baby. They stop them at the gate, and if you don't want your car searched and get your
weapon too?
Your weapons, you got to submit your weapons, sign a thing. You can get it when you leave, but you got one trail ride we had long ago. They took 45 guns.
Can I make a comment? I want to caution the jury on this, because the occupational license tax it's just a tax on the commencement of a business. I agree with what Reggie has said and what Kyle said, but the occupational license tax has nothing to do with what the fire marshal does, has nothing to do with
What
the health department does. Title 47, 343, or excuse me, 344, you can go read it yourselves. That is the new business under that section. Y'all got to be careful, because if you start trying to lay all these special terms on these occupational license, we will be sued eventually for something like that. We got to, that's that limitation that you're talking about. We want to protect people's rights. So for occupational license purposes, it's only a tax on the commencement of a new business, and each year after that, they're to renew their application with us. So now, special event is a different issue.
Yeah.
That falls under occupational license laws, but y'all have the right to do the special event permits. And you can set limitations on that. And this is a possible loophole in the system for businesses to take advantage of that. However, with that loophole comes certain contingencies. If a business is operating and allowing people to come in and operate under their occupational license, they're liable for whatever happens there, not the parish. They're also supposed to report those gross sales on their occupational license tax when they renew it. And if they do not, the collector, in this case, which is the parish treasurer, she's named in there, can enforce some sort of action upon them. And that action would be, we'd have to hire an outside firm to go and audit them to determine, okay, say for example, Highway 5 Barn, and I'm only speaking hypothetically here. If Highway 5 Barn had 10 events and each event made $50,000, well, that's $500,000 that's in reportable gross sales underneath that occupational license tax table. That is where you're supposed to pull their tax, their license tax. That's not happening right now. Everybody pays the minimum. Everybody. So you have to go and determine what is the true, what's the sales for that organization. So I didn't mean to get on a soapbox there, but I wanted y'all to have a full disclosure on it.
To do temporary restraining order.
So in other words, how they gonna know what? You think they gonna report what the sales was? Honest, let's be honest. Let's be honest.
God, we trust.
As a former collector and a former auditor, I've yet to see anyone report that accurately, to
No,
be honest with you.
that's what I thought.
So basically, we cannot
Okay,
take
Mr.
any
Mitchell?
action.
Ms. McKay, I know the occupational, I know how that works and all that, but is there any way as we're gonna, parish, put some verbiage in that occupational license stating about special permits, special events and that type thing, and,
I don't know if you would
for them to sign off on that?
necessarily put it under the occupational license,
Put it in our
but I think certainly you would have the right to set up regulations, like we did on the special events, that could apply to anyone who is hosting an event like that. So I'll look into that and get you some possible approaches before the next meeting. I'll have some suggestions about what I think would be feasible approaches. There's certainly other parishes that have elected to do that.
Yeah, 'cause, now, you do know,
It's under the,
I went to court and represented myself and come out pretty good. And it was about our ordinances, and that's how DeSoto Parish ended up with a special event ordinance. It's because of me. Ain't it, Mr. Brown? Because they was trying to send me to jail for something that they ain't even have an ordinance for. And she right, if we got that in our ordinance, they gonna have to abide by it, whether it's occupational license or not. And we just got to follow the state law, and the state law has provisions for these kind of things. I just don't want nobody to slide by the wayside and something bad happen. Cause it is.
All right, any more discussion? All right, if not, we'll move on. Number 6, authorize the president to sign a resolution for the police jury to intervene with the lawsuit filed by the Attorney General Office against FEMA regarding a flood zone methodology.
So move.
A motion by Mr. Kennington, second.
Second to discuss it.
Second by Mr. Fuller. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. What is this? What y'all asking us to agree to?
The Attorney General's office called and requested that we intervene with them on challenging FEMA and their methodology, how they calculate the insurance rates, I believe, for flood insurance.
Yeah,
homes
so
that are in flood
the
insurance.
director of FEMA has implemented FEMA 2.0. And basically, we heard about this last summer in Washington, and somebody it's more so for South Louisiana, but it affects everybody, that somebody's normal flood policy might be $1,000 a year on their house. FEMA 2.0 is going to take that 1,000 and make it 15,000. They're basically saying, because you live in a state like Louisiana that floods or has hurricanes or anything, that you need to carry the full weight of your flood policy versus somebody in northern Arkansas who will never flood. They're not going to pay anything towards your flood policy. But the problem with the whole FEMA 2.0 is they won't share any information on how they get the rates that they're going to assess you or me or anybody else. And the other problem to that is, you know, Bossier had an issue a few years back with flooding with the river, and most of Bossier is now in a flood zone. Some of Caddo has now been put in a flood zone, all over there off of 70th Street by Uri Drive. All of that is now in a flood zone. May have never flooded, but it could easily come here too in DeSoto Parish. And so it's not, we sat in a meeting and the FEMA director would not tell us how he got the rates, he basically refused to answer any questions. So almost every state that I know of is fighting this as much as possible. If they won't answer for what they're doing, something's probably wrong.
So essentially, they're asking us to participate. Now, he's told me in the letter he sent us that, and verbally, financially, we wouldn't participate in the lawsuit. They just want our support, and I don't know if that means we just file an amicus brief or if they want us to do a full intervention, but the agreement, they just want us to participate, be an active participant, but.
I think along with other parishes as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all of them, or as many as possible.
Yeah. They want to get as many as possible. Yes, sir.
Right.
Any more discussion? All right, we'll vote.
I know, I'm thinking.
All right. Item number 7, authorize the president to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Melvin Porter Foundation in the amount of $500. Do I have a motion?
Also move.
Mr. Mitchell,
Second.
For discussion.
second by Mr. Fuller. Any discussion?
Yes, who,
Is that yours?
Come on, my phone, out of my motel.
oh, okay.
Who is this?
What discussion, man?
Sir?
What is this?
Zach, can I answer that?
Coming out of my foundation, out of the money the police you allotted.
Oh, okay.
Your ARPA funds.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
What's it used for? What's it used for?
What's Melvin Porter?
Feed
Foundation?
kids.
Pardon me?
What is the Melvin Porter's Foundation? What is it used for?
It's just the one with the church. It's church in,
Stonewall.
they feeding kids and stuff.
Summer food
Canaan.
program. Summer food program.
It was in Gloucester.
This one says summer food program.
All right,
Show money.
discussion, vote.
Yep, it's his money.
Show money.
He uses it his way.
Better than feeding the kids.
Right, and most of them.
All right, item number 8, authorize the president to sign a CEA with the Logansport Christmas Festival in the amount of $2,500.
Also move.
Motion by Mr. Mitchell,
Second.
second by Mr. Kennington then.
This is your ARPA funds too, Mr. Kennedy.
Any discussion? Not vote. And item number 9, authorize the president to sign a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Fire District Number 1 for fireworks display in the amount of $2,500. Have a motion?
Also move.
Motion by Mr. Mitchell, second?
Second.
I second.
Go ahead.
Who money that is?
ARPA.
That's Mr. Mitchell's.
Oh, you,
Any discussion? Vote. All right, item number 10. Appoint the Mansfield Enterprise to the official journal for the DeSoto Parish Police Jury. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
There a motion by Mr. Ross. Second,
I'll second.
Mr. Mitchell. Any discussion?
yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir,
Yeah,
we do.
yeah,
We
we
got
have
some
some
discussion
discussion.
about that.
All right, let's start with Ms. Burrell.
Look, the Mansfield Enterprise done cost us a whole lot of money. And, I thought we was looking into was there any other alternatives we could do besides using that Mansfield Enterprise, cause Mansfield Enterprise costing us. You
That's
know,
interesting.
I can answer that question. There is no other official journal that's been here greater than 3 years, to my knowledge. We have to use Mansfield Enterprise until something's been established for longer than 3 years. And there is currently legislation that's proposed at the legislature that may change that, may give us the ability to reach outside the parish boundaries, but until that happens, we have no choice but to use Mansfield Enterprise. And I think we're supposed to go ahead
but I
and
might
adopt
need to
this.
start a newspaper.
That would be good. I mean, that would be great, but you'd still be limited to being here 3 years. You have to be
That'll be
obligated.
all right, 3 years, we couldn't be out of business with Mansfield Enterprise.
So,
It has to be within the parish, is that?
yeah, they have to have an office within the parish right now, the publication does.
If you have
Well, maybe
someone
we
that
get the
has
Times to
office
put an office down
That's
here.
the only one that has the office here.
So if someone opened an office, say, with another journal, just within the parish, then we could go with them.
Could go with
If
that.
they've been here longer than 3 years.
Yeah, we got 3-4 times.
We need to ask Shreveport Time to put office down here.
All right,
Mr.
The Enterprise still they game.
yeah, Mr. Jones, I'm sorry.
You know, I had invited the general manager of the Mansfield Enterprise to come visit us, and he came. But I guess he was waiting on someone to call him, and I thought he was gonna come up doing public comment and apologize and tell us why they failed so many times to get our post in a timely manner. That really cost us money. But I think the second time I invited him, he didn't show up. So I think I still want to get him up here because I want him to look at us in the eyes and let him know exactly what his paper cost us. And even though we are bound by law to use them, they got to get on their toes, start doing what they're supposed to do with our information instead of costing us money. Because really, I think one time it's no secret that they failed to get our budget in on time, and had not have been caught, we'd have been left by using half our budget for that particular year. And there's no way we can operate this parish on half a budget. And they need to realize that. They need to know that. So, no, we ain't in business saving money.
It's almost like,
Ms. Trina Boyd?
it's almost like, they're said, I guess I could be wrong, but it's just my opinion, and I'm gonna speak it. It's almost as if they're wanting us, this jury, to fail. Because numerous times calling and asking you to come out, and so now we have no, and it, apparently they must know we have no other choice but to vote yes on this number 10, but I have a question. If we vote no and it don't pass, what are the ramifications?
We have no official journal to publish the stuff that's required by law to be published.
Right. Right. We
Actually,
have,
doesn't occur.
we have to have an
Petticoat
official
Johnson, now, do you have
journal.
But they're,
I hear you. I understand.
they
Ms.
need to
Trina.
have a meeting. We need to have a meeting with them because this, our hands are tied. We're gonna have to vote yes, but at the same time, we're voting, I feel like, with, they don't have our, I don't think they have our best interest. I'm just.
Mr.
We're
Chairman,
not alone in that, jury members. Other smaller parishes are having the same issue. That's why there's legislation out there. We're trying to address that.
But I will say this, though, it wasn't the office in Mansfield. You know, Mansfield, they get them, the office in Mansfield get the material, and they send it down to Natchitoches to be printed,
Okay,
and it comes back up here. So it wasn't them.
okay.
They sent it down. But for some reason, when it gets down there, it's not being done in a timely manner. So,
Yeah, I've since implemented just a policy within house that we send all our advertisements well in advance of the deadline. So they're typically, the ladies are preparing anything that's supposed to go down. In order to get it in next week's, you have to publish it by Thursday, or you
Yes.
send them this by Thursday. Well, we are now doing that. They have instructions to do that on Monday or Tuesday to make sure there's nothing lost in translation or in an email or something, because that's how we communicate with them, via email. Now, we can't control if they open their emails. That's a problem that we've
Can
seen.
you call?
Yeah, we can call them, but you can't call and speak an ad. I mean, we've called and
No,
followed
I'm
up with
talking
them.
about, can you call and make sure they checking their email? Cause we gonna have to do something, cause we can't keep losing millions buying the man fee enterprise.
We've done that, yes, ma'am.
We can get the state to change that 3-year guideline. Something.
All right,
Well, I guess we have to vote yes.
okay, vote, everyone.
Have no choice, okay.
No choice.
I guess
All right, item number 11, discuss the nuisance ordinance. I think everyone has a
Second.
copy of it.
second.
Mr. Jones?
Mr. Chair, I had this put on because, you know, from time to time, I've talked about our nuisance ordinance and the fact that I think we need to put a little more bite into it. And I had staff to print us out a copy of our nuisance ordinance. And by state law, authority of parish health to abate nuisance through enforcement of health and sanitary ordinances, RS 4014, parish authority to enact ordinances to declare dilapidated structure as public nuisance and require their repair, rehabilitation, demolish, or removal. On revised statute 33-123-6-49. Maintenance of property and liens for removal and securing of dangerous structures. I had Mr. Donald to put together for me. I had looked at some that's in my area, in my district. And if you look at this, and this wasn't all of it, somewhere in there, there's a house. And there it is back there. You see it in the back.
Exactly where that is.
Wow.
There's an old dilapidated car. And here again, in front of you see trash. And then, like I said, between those bushes, those trees you see, there is a house. This is another location. All grown up. House, the dilapidated house, standing in the midst of all the growth, the brush. And then there's trash on the ground. Here we go, some more, again. Same thing. Okay, Mr. Donald. That's the same one. Yeah.
It's in the parish or the city, Arnell?
Oh, it's in the parish. In the parish. Were those the only ones I sent, Mr. Don? Those one, okay. I did send some. I guess I didn't get to send those to him. Now, the biggest problem we have is that a lot of people who own those property have moved on out of state in other areas and doesn't come back and keep those, or some other family member have passed on and they're not coming back to keep those. We need something in place or act on where we can get these things cleaned up. Because other people have to live close to this, and it provides a bad environment for them, the kids. And like I said, nuisance, they bring about critters, snakes, and all other sorts of animals, rats. And it's not even a tip of the iceberg within that area. But we need something with some bite in it, that they're not a nuisance, that we can get these things cleaned up. I had proposed at one time about if we hire someone to tear down, to clean up this thing, clean that property up, and put it on their taxes, because apparently someone may be paying the taxes on that particular property, and add that cleanup cost onto their taxes. That way we get the money back, and also if they fail to pay the taxes, or if they fail to pay the taxes, then the property will come through us to adjudicated property anyway. But I would like for us to sit down and come up with a plan, something to work to clean up these areas, because they are numerous in our parish. They are numerous in our parish. And I promise you, we talk about economic development, or bringing businesses in. Businesses follow people. People follow housing and good areas. And if we would want to develop our parish and make it livable, especially in some of these areas, this is what we need to happen. We need to step forward and put something in place and take action to clean this place, to clean our areas up. Okay, thank you, Mr. Don.
Okay. Any more discussion on that?
I agree 100%. I agree. It's a lot of, all over the parish, not just Mansfield. I see it in everybody's there. Everybody got some.
Right.
And we do need to step up and put some in place, because some of this is unnecessary. And like you say, a lot of this property is people that's in other states, they don't even live here, so they could care less how it affect the neighbors or our constituents. We care about them, so we do need to step up and put something in place.
Take the ordinances with you, man, and let's read it carefully. And maybe one day we can have a workshop on what we can do about this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Norton or Ms. McKay, is there any, I've looked over the policy, and I see where we give them a certain amount of time to do it on their own, correct the problem on their own, and then we go in and we can do it and then charge them for it. Is there any remedy to collect our money, like what he mentioned?
Yeah, you can file a tax lien on those properties to collect it. Demolition, something I've done in Bossier. Again, I hate to go back to Bossier, but I've done what you're
Good
talking
reference.
about.
Right.
So we can add that to their property tax?
You can add that to the property taxes they owe the jury, but I can tell you there are no property taxes on those properties. So they're probably, if there are, they're minimal, because you have the $75,000 homestead exemption. If it's less than that,
Who's,
This wouldn't be exempt, though. There may not be any taxes on the property.
right, there would be a
But
tax.
when you
but
add
have
this
it-
to it, there would be a tax on the property.
Correct. That would be above and beyond.
That would be above and beyond. So
Right,
this would get
correct.
added to the property, and then there'd be a tax. So,
You're talking about doing a property standards, setting up some sort of property standards program, and that's costly. And you're gonna have to hire people to do that. Right now, we have one person who investigates nuisance complaints. She notices them within the bounds of the law, what we're required to do, and
who is that?
Brittany.
Brittany.
Okay.
Brittany here. That's why she came tonight. So she's free to ask her any questions you want about that, but she does her due diligence. She goes out, she photographs properties, she sends letters to taxpayers, and it's tracking down these taxpayers too sometimes. Because we're dependent upon the clerk's office having the correct information.
True.
We're dependent upon the assessor's office to have that information correct. So there's a lot of work that's involved in doing that.
I have a question.
Yes.
A lot of work being, put into it. So once we are unable to get any information back on this property, what's the next step?
And Brittany, feel free to correct me, but essentially, just try to cliff notes it. You send them with 2 notices. If they don't take any action, they have so much time to appeal it to the jury, because we're going to take action if we go out there to demo the property, which
Okay.
I don't believe we've done any demolitions of any properties
No, we never
at
did
all.
that.
But if we go out there, then you can file a tax lien on that property, and you have to afford the taxpayer the rights to answer. I mean, you have to send them notice and say, this is a bill you get for so long, and then you attach it to the property tax bill. So it's a lengthy process.
At least we doing
Yes,
something.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes, sir.
Make the
Yes, sir.
example.
Brittany, when you research that property, do you see if they're paying, anyone's paying taxes on that property?
I'm not familiar with the property that was shown there. There've been properties that are under homestead exemption. There've been properties that have not been under homestead exemption. We get about a 50-50 response rate. When I
Yeah.
send a letter, about 50% of them will clean it up.
Mhm.
I mean, at that point, historically, we've not done anything past that.
That's mainly due to limited resources. I mean, she's the only one that handles these issues for us. So, you're talking about, I think y'all had at one point budgeted a community development
How much?
person or planning and development person in the budget, and that would be something that that individual in that department would do.
I think it really doesn't matter if it's homestead exempted, because the tax assessor still has the address of the taxpayer.
No, that's correct. You're right.
They know where the property's located, they know where the notices are being sent.
Yep.
Right.
So it's,
I can
And
tell
there's
you,
different mechanisms in the law to post notices and things too, if you can't locate people. I mean,
Right.
your main impact, you would have to set up a system. I mean, you would have to set up a system, you'd have to allocate money, because, you have to pay to clean up these properties and demolish them and provide the notices and do all that. You're gonna have to front money to do all those things, and you can ultimately, most of the time, perhaps get it back. You just might end up with properties you don't really want.
I can
But,
speak.
but it would be a whole system that you're gonna need to put in place to, address these issues, if that's what the police jury
In the entire
intends to
time
do.
I was with Bossier City's tax office, we never recovered demolition charges from a taxpayer. Because those are $15,000 to $20,000 at that time to demo a home, and these were not big homes, we're small homes. It's extremely expensive. So, to my knowledge, we never collected that back, so.
Did those properties ever resell though, once you clean them up? Did they resell?
They went, I believe we sold some of them through Civic Source online.
Right.
But I used to run the tax sales for Bossier City, and those particular properties never sold at tax sale. They always got adjudicated. The goal of that is to bring it back into
Right.
the records, to get them to start,
Paying taxes on it.
paying taxes on the property. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
But I've seen, this is not an exaggeration, I've seen a tax bill for a taxpayer inside the city limits of Bossier, $3.50 a year, and they go out and do a $20,000 demolition on that home, and the city will never recover that money. So, I mean, that's likelihood with the jury too. You'll
If Mansfield
never recover. You're talking about an enormous amount of money up front. so.
Mansfield got their ordinance in place. Mansfield ordinance in place, and baby, they taking them down. They cleaning it up.
So what you're saying, it is possible.
Yeah.
Fire
I mean,
department going
the
out
tax liens and stuff.
Yeah. And the way some people buy property up around here, I doubt if it'll stay, if it's cleaned up, I doubt if it would stay vacant long.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
all right, any more discussion? If not, I hear motion to adjourn. Motion second, all in favor? Aye.
Budget and Finance Committee.
Somebody do wrong, it's out.
Exactly.
Call Budget and Finance Committee to order. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, any guest or public comments? Hearing none, item 1 is to amend the road budget in the amount of $140,000. He purchased 24 scales and storage bins for scales. This is to check for overweight trucks.
I so move.
Second to discuss.
Have a motion by Mr. Mitchell, a second by Richard Fuller. Discussion?
Yes, what are these, I mean, what kind of scales are these?
They're the only scales that exist right now. The Department of Transportation Weights and Measures Division uses these. Every other parish uses these type of scales. They go underneath the tires of a truck,
Okay,
big
that's the
truck,
kind-
yes,
I
sir.
just, okay.
And you have to have 6 of them.
Oh, okay.
And we have 4 trucks, so, or 4 permit officers.
Who all carries those? Just the,
Just the permit
Permit
officers.
officers.
And the storage bins, you have to lock them up, because they will walk off. We've been told by other parishes, they will walk off, so you want to lock them securely. And there are those storage bins that go in the tailgate of a truck. You can lock them in there, and the steel vault, essentially.
so how many do they, I'm new to, how many do they put up on the truck? For instance, if they stop a big truck?
6.
6?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. This will require our permit officers getting certified on this, which is not difficult. The only individual in North Louisiana who does it operates it and does it for all of DOTD, all of Caddo, Sabine, Red River Parish is going to certify our people. And in addition to that, they have to be calibrated, and that individual calibrates them also. And that calibration has to occur every quarter, I believe, so.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please vote.
All right, Mr. Booker, we're amending the budget, where's it coming from? You know, from all the-
Coming out of the road budget.
So, just adding it to it.
Motion passes. Second item, is amend the general fund budget in the amount of $80,000 for the installation of a roofing sealant to the roof at the 4-H building.
I move to discuss.
Yeah.
I have a motion by Mr. Fuller. Do I have a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Discussion. Second for discussion.
I have a second. By Kyle Kennedy and Miss Tina Boyd Simpson. Discussion?
Oh, yeah, this really needed, because I was up there.
Hang on,
And this-
hang on. Hang on, hang on. Mr. Kennington?
Isn't this a metal building?
Yes.
Do you typically seal roofs of metal buildings?
Yes, some people do.
Yes, you do.
There's nothing in our packets, so I don't know, there's no quotes or anything else. So I'm curious as to where the 80,000 came from if we haven't gotten any bids.
I believe finance, yeah, go ahead.
We did a preliminary estimate from 3 companies, and the highest bid was roughly 83,000. We did get quotes just to fix where the leaks were. That estimate came at around 37,000 something. But, you know, we can't really go out to proper bid until we have the funding source approved. So we did a preliminary estimate that Mr. Kevin did.
So it may not
Mr.
cost
Chairman.
that much.
Yes.
Were you through?
Yes.
I'd like from also to get a bid on just putting a new metal roof on that building.
Oh, no.
It doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt.
Well, I mean, I can give you the information that Steve and I discussed a little earlier. We took this based upon the new roof we put on at the solid waste department, which was only about a 5,000 square feet building. Now, the 4-H building is roughly 22,500, so keep that in perspective. So the 4-H building, the estimate that he gave me was between $350,000 and $400,000 to put a new roof on.
Yeah, we're a government agency, gentlemen, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
they see that
You know,
name.
that government agency, you know, that.
I mean, that's the range. It may not, you would amend the budget for that much, but it may not approach that. It may go over that. We haven't gotten any quotes. That is just what Steve and I discussed before the meeting tonight.
Are there
This is-
are there major leaks or like a few leaks or?
believe
It
they have,
ain't leaks, it's raining.
yeah,
in
they
there.
have quite a few leaks. And from what I understand, y'all do this, y'all put this sealant on, which is kind of a Band-Aid on the issue, and this comes up every, I guess, 5, 6 years. So, this is a Band-Aid right now.
Really, Miss County, for real, I was up there. And I told him I was gonna let you all know, cause I saw it with my own eye. It's not leaking. It's, in some places, it is actually raining. The water is driggling down the walls. It's gonna be a mold problem up there. After a while, cause I'm telling you, what you call the things over the doors?
Awning.
The awnings and stuff. Ooh, it's terrible. I'm telling you. Then in the other part over here, coming up on that thing, it's raining down the walls. It ain't leaking. I call that rain. When I need an umbrella, it's raining.
And I discussed this with Lily beforehand, and if y'all were to amend the budget for the larger amount to pay for a roof to be completely replaced, you can probably use your economic development money in royalties that you'll have. I think we have in excess of $2 million in the bank that's dedicated, because it is to stimulate economy. The use of that facility is an economic benefit. So that's why we believe it meets the litmus test for that. But that would be, if you wanted to do that instead of just doing the Band-Aid.
I have a question, Mr.
Well, if we're
Van
doing
Zandt.
this every 5 years,
I say go
10 years from now will be the third time. 3 times 80,000,
I was
And the
doing
cost is
math.
only going up.
240,000 right
Yeah.
there.
Yes, sir.
Is it the tin is leaking, or is it just leaking like where the screw holes are?
I believe it's the screw holes. That's what they've
Because
identified.
The screw is probably the little rubber around it has dry rotted.
Right.
And have they ever thought of going in there and replacing the screws with new screws?
I'm sure they
rather than
have,
doing
yes,
the
sir.
sealant?
Yeah.
Do we have any information on what they
Richard,
completed on it in the
Oh,
past?
Mr. Van Zandt, have you been by there and look at the building?
We did already.
Sir?
We did already.
So you have already?
Ms. Holmes was saying the seals around the screws are dry rotting. And also in spots, the tin is starting to separate from age, I guess you could say.
So how old is that roof that's on there?
Probably when y'all originally constructed it.
Original roof.
Yeah, y'all have never replaced that roof, to
And
my
how old
knowledge.
is the building?
I believe I looked at the fixed assets earlier this week, and I want to say it was 2007 when it was renovated from a grant, I believe, that we got through the federal government.
And I think,
It's probably when the sides were put on.
I think we do.
Mr. Mitchell?
if I remember correctly, in 2007, they put that new ceramic coat that they had up on that building. Mr. Van Zandt, on metal roofs, could you tell if they had already went to a bigger size screw? Because you can't put the same size back in there if you replace them screws. You have to go up a size.
When they did, when they redone we did the screws once already.
So you've went up to a larger side already. It's gonna have to be sealed. You can only put so big a screw. Go ahead.
When did we
Boy, it
fix
enough
that roof last, Steve?
That was my question.
You put a ceramic coating on it.
It's about like 10 years ago, roughly.
How is that put down?
They primed it to clean.
It's a paint type coating instead of an actual membrane sheet that you can cover the roof with. And what is this 80,000? Is it a paint type coating or is it a membrane that's going on the roof?
If I'm not mistaken, is
Another paint job.
Right.
That's all I can, is that paint job kind of like, that they spray in the back of a truck? Is it that kind of, that,
I don't really know.
that hard shell, to keep it
That
from scratch?
lining,
Is it similar
bed
to?
lining.
It's pretty much how they do RVs and travel trailers. For the roofs when they leaking.
I think we need to.
What y'all wanna do? You want,
Need to be fixed, I so move.
well, do you wanna
Put a
give it
Band-Aid
another
on it.
5-year patch or do we wanna fix it for 30 years?
How long's it been leaking?
How long is the building gonna last?
How long's it been leaking, Kevin?
Been leaking now for, right over a year, but not, it's getting worse. It been,
And then eventually we're gonna have a whole new building because of the mold.
rain we get now, we get more rain.
Have we, have we done any type of mold test on it to see?
But right now, I'm not seeing any mold.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we get bids on both the coating and the replacement.
Of the roof.
Well,
You
I-
can't, oh, I'm sorry.
To get the quote for the replacement, we have to amend the budget by
For more?
price in which we think that it will cost to replace the roof.
Well, I mean, we're just amending it. We're not awarding it, right?
Correct.
Right,
not
it's not that you're gonna spend it.
Yeah,
You
we
just
just-
have to amend the budget
All right.
for what you think a roof replacement
Cost.
would be, and then that would enable you to get the quotes on both ways.
Up to 400,000, that would be probably what you'd wanna do. Just a minute up to, and then
Just amend
at a
it.
later date, when we get quotes, we can award it however y'all see fit.
I mean, you guys that build, is that
Yes, ma'am.
reasonable to do that? To get,
Sir?
is it reasonable to get a quote for either way and then know exactly what it costs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and I agree with Ms. Simpson. Before, I'm telling you, I saw it with my own eyes. And before we invest that kind of money, I'm like her, I'd like to have a mold test, cause I don't wanna put a $400,000 roof on a building, and then we got a mold problem. We need to do a mold test too, honestly, I'm telling y'all you do. I'd be up there all the time.
We do need to check those walls.
Where the Clorox when
I
they
have
did that?
one more question. Steve, that thing got white road insulation in the ceiling? That can be replaced if you replace the ceiling, so.
And that's falling apart in some areas as well.
Yeah, make sure.
So, did you make me an alternate motion to what?
So I'll make an alternate motion to amend the general fund budget in the amount of $400,000 for the installation of roofing sealant and/or a new roof to the 4-H building, and that we get quotes on both,
And a mold test.
I have a
or
motion-
evaluate both
have a-
routes.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Boyd Simpson.
What about the mold test?
Any discussion?
Please vote now. Any further discussion?
Yes, sir, what about the mold
We're gonna
test?
take the money from the, fund that we're talking
No,
about?
no, Ms. Burrell, I can do I can
Now
get
it's
the molding test done. I mean, we have the money in the budget to
It's
have
just
them go out and
amending it,
test
we're not
mold.
spending it yet.
Yeah, we need
Yeah,
to
we'll do that. We'll do that.
Did the test.
Do we need to specify where that money's coming from, or is it,
I would think you need to specify that, yes, sir.
okay, where you
Because we're
want?
gonna be, you have the money in economic development money, the royalties that you can spend that money.
Okay, just for, because it's just gotta be there, just put that on there, Jody. Can I amend that motion, Mr. Baker?
They hear that, they gonna shoot them
You
price
second
tires
that
on the
amendment?
wood.
You still second?
I still second. I was still thinking back
Any
about the
further
mold
discussion?
test.
Can we vote, Jody?
Yes, sir. I'm writing on mine.
Still thinking about the mold.
No, we ain't spending it, we're just moving it.
Do those
Just
mold
on paper.
tests.
All right. Well, I think that makes more sense.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion passes, motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Mitchell, second by Mr. Fuller. We're adjourned.
Okay, what's next?
Buildings and properties, parks and recreations.
All right.
Here we go, it's big, it's a big wall out here. We'll call the Building and Properties order, committee to order, call for any additions or deletions. Any guests and comment on anything on the, Building and Properties Committee?
I think they can do that.
Hearing none, we need to, well, as we know, we've gotten a bid on the new, sheriff's office and the new jail that we were gonna build, and it's way out of budget. I mean, extremely out of budget. And tonight, the Building and Properties Committee, along with help from the rest of the jury, need to discuss and make a decision regarding the construction of a new jail or the renovation of the existing jail facility. I think that first bid came in at 33-something million dollars.
That was a low bid, yes, sir.
Yeah, the low bid on it. And so we've retained again, I've forgotten the gentleman, I think he's here. Oh,
Well, y'all haven't retained,
yeah,
y'all haven't retained him yet. Y'all asked us to get more information. He's brought it to you,
Yeah.
I believe.
yeah, on that, so. Building and properties.
$3 million.
And Mr. Lauren Marsheep's here to answer any questions about the backup that we provided.
Yeah. You want to come forward, Mr. Marcy?
We can. I'll make the motion to discuss it.
Second.
While he's getting his stuff together, Mr. Chairman, just point of information, the sheriff's office piece of that 33 million he's paying for, our portion would be the 22, just over 22 million, which we budgeted originally 15, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we're basically 7 million off somewhere.
I guess we need to discuss, Mr. Marcy, if we would, what do you plan to do for retain you to get the cost down?
What we were asked to do is go back and look at new versus existing. And a base component, the new facility was right at 50,000 square feet. And your current facility is around 35,000 square feet. So there's a huge difference in the square footage. So to bring the existing facility up to a standard of a new facility, there would have to be substantial additions made to the existing facility. I think in your packet, there was a one-page component, two-page component that talked about what is in the new facility versus what's in the existing facility and what's not there. I want to go back to cost. Using the low bid of $33,367,000, low bid contractor told us that the sheriff's office estimate was about $500 a square foot, and that's roughly an $8.6 million job. The detention facility came in at $490 a square foot, and that's roughly $24.7 million. Just from preliminary discussions with all of our consulting team, we believe that the way to approach this is to separate the sheriff's office bid package from the detention facility bid package. And part of the reason that there will be some economy when we separate utilities, that some of the utilities work with the sheriff's office and some and the detention center together. So if we separate the two, there will be nothing shared, except maybe some communications cables, and that's about it. Then the sheriff's office timeline work can be whatever the sheriff wants to do. As far as cost reductions concerning the existing design, identified in the neighborhood of $3 million worth of savings at this point, so that still puts us at a $21 million construction project. And this is just based upon not a detailed cost estimate at all. It's just simply taking the information that we already have and the work we've already done on both of the facilities and looking at them. One of the things that we know will have to happen with the renovation of the detention facility is that you cannot occupy the building and do the amount of renovation and addition work that's there. So we're talking roughly $1 million a year in cost just to move inmates. That's, the sheriff said that that's $28.50 a person per day. The other component that goes into the renovation project is the sheriff would have to reassign, if there's no inmates, he'd have to reassign that staff to some other duties. There's some other cost involved in just running the facility that will stop. So there's some cost savings from that standpoint to the jury of not having to do maintenance work on the building. So that line item budget kind of offsets some of the other costs. At this point, I really don't know what else I can tell you based on the information that we currently have. I believe at the last meeting, we discussed doing an amendment to our contract to move to the next point, but that's y'all's decision as to whether that contract actually gets amended to do a full study and report on one versus the other. But we can give you, the information we've given you is based upon stuff that we already have and you've already paid us for.
I've forgotten again, how much did we budget, Michael? Our part, what was our part?
Your portion was 15 million.
15 million? You know, just looking at the figures we have now, you know, working on that and the difference from the way that came in there, you think you're gonna get it down there? I don't see
No,
how
we,
you're gonna.
we don't
That's what I'm
believe,
talking about.
we don't believe it's possible to get down to 15 million. Not with a 150 bed detention facility.
No. It's 100 now, isn't it?
No, you have 150
We do,
beds.
Tom,
It was not designed for 150.
but they made it work.
Sheriff Arbuckle asked the state fire marshal and the health department to give them an exception to increase the bed capacity to 150.
All right, now bed count is 151,
But it was a
Trying to
facility
make
designed for
them-
quite a few less than that.
page.
It's the same bed count
Yeah.
going forward. They're just changing it to more female
No, female.
and less male. Because I think right now they're having to merge the female side together and ship some off even, I believe.
Yeah, the design had the capacity to have an extension in the future up to 180 beds. We were actually building a shell portion of the building that could be built out later.
Who has the question? You do? Go ahead.
When would, I mean, if we did do this building, this shed, have we even got a CEA with this city of Mansfield? Or where are we gonna put the shed at?
It's on your property across the street over here. Not, the site wouldn't change.
I mean, have we done the CEA with the city of Mansfield?
It's our property, huh?
Our property.
It's our property.
It's your property, yeah.
I mean, just to be
But
doing the city of
Mansfield still
Mansfield.
got to run it, cause we can contest it.
I think we just have to
Take out a building permit.
negotiate a building permit. There's no CEA
And
required.
utilities.
And the city would let you hook up to their water and sewer. One of the cost savings items we're looking at, and this is something we would have to discuss with the sheriff, is in lieu of building individual cells, a lot of parish detention facilities are going more to dormitory type, so this is a big open room with cots, rather than have four-person cells. There are gonna be some components of the detention center where you have to have that lockup. You have a section of maximum security, but there's two sections in the current design that are medium security. And some of those, half of those probably could go to a dormitory style component within the detention.
Was that part of the 3 million you just told us about,
Yes,
the cuts?
yeah. And
So that was already figured in.
A lot of the other is already, but that's not a detailed takeoff yet. This is just, we're guessing,
Yeah,
to be honest with you, we're guessing.
but that was part of that 3 million you
Yes.
talked about, that you had figured on cuts.
Yeah, go. I'm learning a lot.
Miss Lily,
Yes, sir.
do you have any ideas or recommendations on how we could fund this or pay for this, or any comments as to what we can and can't afford, or any of that?
Well, I know, the sheriff, as far as, you know,
I'm just talking about the detention,
the detention.
22
I-
million facility.
Yeah, but I do know he was still, I guess, in agreeance to letting us borrow some money. Really, that's the only way you're
That was 10, right?
going to be able to fund this.
No, sir, it was 11 million.
Okay.
11 million, yes. And then, I mean, honestly, we have maybe about 3 million or so right now. So that's 14 million. You know, I mean, but we could go ahead and I'm just trying to figure, you know, if our sales continue to go up, you'll still have additional monies from there. I don't know, 22 million, we're still going to be probably short about $3 million.
Short about how many?
3 million, and that's with borrowing the 11,000, or 11 million from the sheriffs.
We can't
Have,
afford it.
have you run any numbers as far as our budget as to the repayment of that and how that fits and how that looks? If we borrow the 11 million,
Yeah, well, right now we have 1.225 set aside already for that from last year. And that is, you know, to be funded through the tipping fees. As long as that continues to be, I don't see a problem where we're not, you know, we'll be able to make those payments from there each year.
so are you basically saying that for the other 11 million, we'd need either a bond source or?
Correct. Like I said, right now, with the construction and stuff that we have already paid through the bidding phase earlier, we still have about roughly, I will say 3.5 million right now. So you're really short about $5 million.
And you, I know you don't have a bond source other than tipping fees because all your taxes are dedicated funds. So,
Could we borrow money with a bond based on tipping fees?
I assume, yes, sir, you could
You
probably
could.
do that.
Oh,
I mean, you would have
Had to
to,
have
you
a
would have
certain
to,
amount.
that would have to go to the bond commission. They'd have to look
I mean,
at.
because that's not guaranteed, you know.
Yeah,
No, it's not.
that's a dangerous move to me. 'Cause what happens if the landfill shut down?
Correct.
We in trouble. We have to look at it in every situation, 'cause ain't nothing promised.
Clearly, I don't think we can make a decision tonight on something this large, but can you, can you run some proposals?
Yes, sir.
As far as, I hate this word, but what kind of tax it would take to pay for a dedicated, say, I mean, this is hypothetical, I'm not suggesting this, I just want to see what it looks like. A tax would look like to pay for the jail and not be an in perpetuity tax, just specifically designated to cover the gap we need for that, and then the tax would go away. I'm just curious to see what it would take, or any ideas. I think that's smarter than trying to go the bond route off of stuff that may or may not happen again.
So I guess we just need to have a work session after they get that information gathered, so. That's all we can do tonight. We're talking about more money than we have, so we're gonna have to figure out a
People
way
don't like us, man.
to do that.
You have a
They
comment?
ain't gonna pay
2
it.
mills are paid off in 10 years.
Pretty big.
But people don't like us.
Do you want us,
Do they
you want
need
us to
us?
run down sales tax,
They don't like us,
property
they want-
tax, both of them?
I just
Research
want
it?
options.
Okay.
I mean, right now, we don't
Okay.
have anything.
Yeah, we can do that.
That's paying for the whole thing with the millage, not borrowing money from the
So
sheriff.
it's something
Yeah, and
here
your
what it
property
cost
tax
for the
millages
old
run a
jail.
10-year a 10-year cycle, so if you were to dedicate the repayment of this within 10 years, I mean, you can, we have an idea of what it's gonna cost. So we can build those numbers based upon a 10-year property tax or even a 10-year sales tax. Yes, sir.
I guess, Mr. Marcy, the only thing, I can tell you honestly, we're just gonna have to have a meeting and see where the funding would come from. We wouldn't want you to go out and do some P&D on it, and then we're not gonna do it, or what we're actually gonna do. So, that's all we can tell you. Go ahead, Mr. Baker.
Anybody ever seen what this thing looks like?
Yeah.
It's on there, it's humongous.
The plans were passed out a while back.
I've never seen the plans.
Steve has a copy in his office, if you'd like to go take a look. Yes, sir.
A lot of concrete.
Tell you what, man.
So these are the two right here.
Tell you what.
You said this facility is designed to be added on to
Yes,
very easily.
yes,
We get all our work.
yes. You know, there's some other components we haven't looked at. The zoning ordinances for the city of Mansfield require so many parking spaces per square foot of an office building. So there's a parking lot across the street that's there just to serve the sheriff's office. And
Need some of that money
quite
to
frankly,
build
I
us
don't
up.
know if the sheriff needs all that parking. It
That may sound
mainly
crazy.
would be used at tax time when people come in to pay their taxes,
Think of that.
whatever other business they have with the sheriff's office. So the city of Mansfield may waive some of that if we ask them.
Big waste.
We've seen other communities do it, as long as you have a dedicated piece of property, so that if it ever becomes a problem, then they can come back and say, well, now you've gotta go ahead and finish building the parking lot, because it's a problem. So that shouldn't be a problem, you'll have the land there, that's not going anywhere. Now, Mr. Mitchell, is there anything else that we can do, other than the information we've given you at this point? If you can, just let us know, and we'll try to provide you.
Yeah, well, the committee and the jury will give you information through Mr. Norton.
Yeah, if we just contact Mr. Norton, then he'll contact us.
You know, unless the committee members have got some other option they want to discuss. I mean,
Yeah, we
got
do.
to we got to see if we,
We got a lobbyist, we have a lobbyist that we paying a salary. I wanna see if it's possible, me and Mr. Jones talking, why we can't, ask the state for some of this money? They get all the oil well money.
I know. You're right,
See
Ms.
what I'm
Pereira.
saying? We need some money. And
that-
then, on
that-
top of that, a lot of the inmates over there is state inmates.
Yeah, the jail, Edward Edwards got the money for that jail, so I show you how long the governor was.
Well, this a good time to ask. We trying to elect the governor.
We can do that too, Mr.
That's what I'm saying.
Members of the committee, you got any other ideas? We gotta, we gotta see where we.
I
if
think we need to
can
get
fund this
some
thing
of our,
before we can do it.
yeah, I think we need to get some of our legislative representatives from this area to help lobby that. You know, let's go down, sit in the governor's office and tell them, look, we need some money back for our jail. It's served its 30-year lifespan, and, you know, this is what we have sent, this is what we got back. And anybody can tell that's not fair. So let's give us some of the money back, we need to build our jail.
And he's already lobbying for it.
Who's that?
We get it, the lobbyist.
Well, he ain't bring no results back. Get you what the results.
No, that's why I think you have more weight coming from legislative people.
Oh, that's true. Well, Ms. Marcy, we're gonna have to get the funding source straightened out before we can see which way we're actually gonna go. And see, we're in limbo. Okay?
We will help you any way we can at this
Okay.
point, to help you get to that decision you need to make.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Item 2, I guess it's Parks and Recreation. Authorize Steve Brown to conduct a feasibility study to determine the viability and potential success of a water park within the parish. I think that's you, Miss Jerry. We have to get Mr. Fuller.
Here, this you?
Where did he?
Anybody second it?
Second. Okay.
It's either gonna have to be Mr. Ernell or Mr. Kenneth and Mr. Parker.
Second.
open for discussion.
Okay, discussion. I recently visited a water park in Zawali, and it is very nice. They had people down there by the globes. And I've been trying to get some developed up there on our property up by the airport since I've been a police year. But for all the people, where it's something that everybody can go. That's why you can't get no taxes passed, because you don't want to do nothing for the people. A water park could be an excellent thing that all the people can go and all the people can participate. Family oriented. I love to see this manifest. We need to be a something up there, and I keep preaching this to y'all for the people. That all the people can participate in a water park in the old pea patch would be a wonderful thing. I think about Watertown. I'm thinking about the water park they got in Zawali. Just take a ride down there and look at it. It's real nice. We hadn't built anything. We had those plans on that wall, spent all that money, but yet not a one thing in those plans have we done. But for Logansport, and for some reason, that hadn't even been completed. We invested the money, but I rise over there to see it ain't even been completed. So we need to do better, people. I want a water park, and the people do too.
That's my story, I'm sticking to it. I so move.
Second.
This gonna be, okay, motion by Ms. Fuller, second by Ms. Burrell. This gonna be an in-house feasibility study?
Yes, sir, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown, in-house.
Ms. Burrell not on the committee.
Oh, I ain't on
Can't
the
second it.
committee.
She's not on the committee.
You seconded it?
Jones
Did you second it, Ernie?
Yeah.
Okay, any more discussion? Mr. Brown's already employed by us, so he can do this study,
Now,
if he has time.
full disclosure on this, before y'all vote. Steve brought me this, and I said, listen, I'm not opposed to doing a water park, but he's got 100 projects that he's working on right now. That concerns me. If he starts working on a feasibility study in-house, we're not talking about hiring an outside person
we
to do
can't do
this. In-house, that's gonna take some of his time.
Okay.
His time is a premium. So I personally don't think this is a good idea, with all due respect, only because we can't even get a splash pad fixed at the old high school. And I understand, and I don't disagree with you, Ms. Burrell, but that's what concerns me.
Yeah.
As his boss, I'm sharing with y'all, this concerns me if he's gonna be, and Steve he's the nicest guy in the world, he'll tell you he can do anything. But we all have limitations, and I just think we have some projects that need to be completed before we start something new right now.
Well, any person can only carry so much water. You
Well,
understand?
I understand that, but being you saying that, well, since you don't want them to do this for the water park, make sure some of my projects get done.
That's why I'd like for him to focus on that
Cause
stuff.
ain't none of them that got done since. So Steve, I'll be looking for KCS subdivision. I'll be looking for the parking lot out here. So if I can't get the water park right now, at least give me something.
I don't disagree with you, and Steve will tell you, I've asked him just about every week about that parking lot out there. What's the progress, so.
And then we can go back to the water park. I agree with that. But I ain't gonna let the water park go, so don't
Yes,
nobody
ma'am.
come up with no bright ideas for that piece of
Okay.
land.
Sir, now,
ma'am.
could you make a motion to defer to a later date?
I'll make a motion that we defer it to a later date.
Ms. Kendra, would you second that?
Later date.
Any later date, when some of this other work gets done. Will you second that, Ms.
Oh,
Kendra, or Ms. somebody?
When are we deferring it to?
Mr. Fuller said,
A later date.
Sure.
did you second
Have a
it?
motion and second.
I second whether to be on there or to do it now. I think it's second for later date. I understand that
You
split.
want to put it on the list?
I understand. It needs to be on the list. It needs to be on the list.
Okay.
That's me. That's my opinion. That's me. My vote.
Somebody made an alternate motion. I think.
Well, Ernell did at my request. You want to withdraw that, Ernell?
What is your motion to do it now?
Put it on
Before it don't be on the list, cause it'll get swept up on the carpet, it don't ever get on the list. I mean, like I said, I'm not saying he said he got a lot to do, but still, you put it on the list.
So you making a motion to put it on the list?
That's what I did at first.
Yeah, we have a motion and second, then you made an alternate to defer to a later date, and he seconded
Oh,
it.
he second, okay, but I didn't know he second, so that's fine.
Yeah. We vote yes on the alternate, he can still get it on the list to do it. I mean,
Yeah, discussing a later date, you know, that's, we can do that, that's the, next meeting or something, next month, so.
He gonna,
vote on the
like,
alternate
they
for
gonna
a,
sweep it right on the road like
no,
they do
no,
all my
on
projects.
a later date.
Well,
Please vote now on the alternate motion, so we can move on, we got a lot on these agendas.
Mike, you said we got a lot on these agendas.
Motion to adjourn building and properties,
So moved.
Second.
motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We adjourn.
Policies and Procedure Committee.
Call to order, call for any additions or deletions. Any guest or public comments? Hearing none, item number 1, adopt ordinance 2 of 2023, establishing fees for public records request.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Baker. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Simpson.
You know-
Anybody have discussion?
So is this for the public?
So this is the one where I believe Mr. Norton informed us last time we discussed this. There was about a half dozen requests a year, half to a dozen requests a year.
Yes, sir. And that excludes requests by media, that excludes requests by jurors.
Okay.
This is the ones that are lengthy, takes us time to generate this information.
I'm gonna just say for the jurors' sake, I know if I was sitting out there and I wanted to know something, I'm just gonna call my juror and say, hey, go get the information for me. Because they don't charge you, and I think that's I love hearing from from people in the parish, but I don't wanna ask for any more, number one. Number two, any more than that's necessary. Number two is I don't believe in charging people for stuff they already pay for.
That's right.
Exactly.
And so that's my thought.
There is no, just note under the policy, there is no charge for inspection of the records. It's just production of records that incurs the expenses at the option of the parish administrator, who's the public records keeper.
They want a
I
copy.
understand, but until it becomes a problem, I don't like creating problems
That's
just
right, and it ain't no problem.
when there's not a problem.
Well, there are getting more and more national agencies, and I represent other public bodies that are sending lengthy public records requests. So if you don't have a policy adopted and you get some request that requires 500 pages of production, that ship will have already sailed if you don't have a policy in place. So it is more and more common that there are national organizations that will send requests just asking for every payroll check or every other types of
got a right
information
to.
like that to publish. And it will be too late if you don't have a policy in place.
Mr. Kim,
Yes, sir.
you know, I agree with you, 'cause like I said, the public, they already paying taxes. Why are we charging them for public information? You know, I don't think it's right, I don't think it need to be done. I mean, like I say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, if you get a few phone calls, if people have to start work, let them work, you know, that's the way I look at it. Not saying people ain't working, but I mean, that's what the public, that's what we're here for, to serve the public, not to charge the public because we are serving the public. That's me.
Jeremy's office.
Maybe can you do it for so many pages, if it's over so many pages? I mean, you say national, can they do it for that?
Well, the policy as proposed right now has no charge for in-person inspections, and then you have a charge beginning with page 1. But obviously, if the police jury wanted to set a policy that there are no charges, for 10 pages or less, or 30 pages or less, or whatever you wanted to do, you could do it. The only workaround there, I guess it's my lawyer mind thinking, is then somebody might just submit many requests to be under those page limits. But certainly if the jury wanted to, as a policy decision, to set some minimal amount that, or some amount that would be produced before a charge would be incurred, you could modify the policy to do that.
Could it be a no charge for in-person production also?
Well, that is already in the policy. There's
Well,
no,
it says in-person inspection. I said in-person production.
oh, well, but I mean, if you have to produce reams of paper to people and give them the paper, I mean, that's part of,
Well, that would cut out, you were talking about these national firms that are calling, wanting you to furnish them. They're not gonna come here in person.
I think there's some case law that says that given electronic production in this day and age, that if they request by electronic production, that your rule has to be the same as a paper production. So I'm not sure that you could do it that way. You could certainly, said, you have the in-person inspection that is available for free, and obviously you can make the charges more minimal if you want, or set some amount that they don't kick in, or obviously not adopt a charge at all.
Maybe we could, maybe we could focus more of our time on making things publicly available for the public instead of wasting time on trying to charge them though. If we link some stuff to our website and we're not gonna make people's payroll public on the website, but there's a whole lot of other stuff, policies, procedures, public document records, minutes, anything of that nature could be readily available, they could access on their own. And I would favor a policy an internal policy, not a written policy, that focused more of our efforts toward making more things readily available. I mean, it's 2023, you can get just about anything off the cell phone in seconds. So let's make it more user-friendly for the public, and then there'd be less things they have to request. There'd be very few things they'd have to request from the actual office.
I have discussed this with our IT, and we are working on getting all agenda packets, all minutes, any sort of ordinance, anything like that is adopted will be put on the website. It just takes us time to build
Understand.
that, so.
That wasn't a slam, I'm just
Yeah.
saying going forward. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So this one where it says one copy, black and white, per page, one side. So one side of information is 50 cents. Just one side of the information. I'm just clarifying. So if I have front and back, you're gonna charge me for $1 for one piece of paper.
Most of these fees came off of the state's public records request fee chart. That's where that came from. Not all of them, but this is in line or below many public entities.
So can this be reduced?
Any further questions? All right, if there's none, then would you please vote?
This to be this high. It's too high.
Miss Jody, who's?
Me.
Motion fails. Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
We are adjourned.
Road committee meeting.
Road committee come to order. Is there any additions or deletions of anything? Is any guest or public comments on anything on the road committee?
Mr. Rowe?
Please come up.
Thank you for letting me speak. I would like to ask the
Excuse me,
jury,
please state your name for the record.
Anthony Wilson. I would like to ask the jury about the drainage on our cemetery in Logansport. We have about a 75-foot area that's holding water, and it used to be a drainage there. It runs under the highway, but it's all grown up now. I think, and I had Mr. Mitchell to look at it, if we ditch it, the water runs through this ditch and goes to town into the river. But without the ditch being there, the water's just sitting there. And I'm just asking the jury if they would let the road department come in and ditch that for us. It's only about 75 foot of ditch.
Is that private property?
Cemetery property.
Okay.
Some of it is cemetery property, and about 20, 30 foot of it is private property. But I've spoke with the landowners, and they are good with it. So, I mean, in a way, it's gonna help them and it's gonna help me,
Yeah, we'll need to get a letter from both of them,
both of them.
and giving us permission to go on the property.
Can I make one more comment?
Go ahead.
And then it's your permit. But we're not talking about a huge ditch. We're talking maybe, what, 18-inch deeper or something like that?
It's just level now. We just need a ditch cut where the
To get
water runs.
Water started.
I mean, but getting the letters is no problem.
That protect both sides.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh. Mr. Phillip, did you ever look at it? You asked me where it was at.
I think so. I'm not sure I was in the right area.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
Clean it
I
out.
might speak on
Somebody
that.
who
Plus,
owns the
we
property.
voted to do the
and-
cemetery,
Take no
y'all know
time to
that,
get it.
don't you? We
I,
had voted before, back, we voted to help, work with the cemetery. Yes, sir, we did, cause that was a proposal when, they came about that cemetery, remember?
Yeah,
Our 175,
yeah.
that cemetery behind the old hollow and this cemetery on St. John Hill, we did a vote.
It died, though.
No, it didn't, we passed that. We
Yeah.
passed that.
Let's wait till, I ain't running his committee, but let's wait till we get to that
We
item.
passed
so.
that.
Okay. All right, item number 1, reject all bids on tree cutting.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Arnell,
Yeah.
second by Mr. Jerry Burrell and Mr. Keith Parker. Any questions?
Yes, sir. What was the lowest bid, Mister?
100 and.
Oh, this is probably.
Yeah, technical error on the bid.
I think the bids were so different, I think we should go with the lowest bid.
They didn't feel something out. Oh, okay, so it just needs to be rebid.
Okay.
Is there any reason, Michael, you want us to reject all bids?
Yes, it says that,
From what I understand, the vendors didn't fill out the information correctly, so we have to reject it and put it out to bid.
Okay,
the sheet says due to a technical error.
Both parties?
Right.
Yeah.
both
Yes,
parties.
sir.
Yes, sir, both.
All right. Please vote now.
One other question, so when the bids go back out, will it be open for everyone or just only these two here redo the bid?
No, sir, it's open for all of them again.
Okay.
Motion passes. Item 2, authorize the president to sign a corporate endeavor agreement with the Village of South Mansfield to lay rock on the water well access road.
Rock on the water.
Train?
well.
I need, this my, can't,
Speak up.
no, I was waiting for, thought we had to get a motion, but this is,
Yes,
We ain't got a motion
Yes.
I
yet.
need a motion.
You gonna make the motion?
she's not on the
I
committee.
can't.
Oh, yeah,
Need somebody else to.
Holmes,
Got the mayor here.
Burrow,
You want to
Jones,
talk about that,
Parker.
Kevin?
Well, you need a motion,
Need
though.
a
You gotta have a
motion.
motion.
All right, all right.
Make a motion. motion? Or?
Jimmy, Jerry, Ernell, and Keith. y'all-
Make some motion,
Thank you.
make a motion.
Arnell made the motion. Do I have a second? Jimmy, Jerry, or Keith?
Oh, you can make a
Second.
motion.
We
Thank
can
you.
discuss it.
Thank you.
Okay, I got a second, okay.
All right. Mr. Vance, would you start?
We have 3 wells in South Mansfield that carries our water. And about 2 months ago, we had an electrical storm come through, and it knocked one of the wells out. Well, this well we used to can get to, but we can't now because they brought a pipeline parallel with it, and it caused it to flood. To get to it, you have to go through a wetland now, almost like a marshland. And the trucks are too heavy, and they can't get back there to fix the well. So they said that the only way they can go fix the well, we had to get a right-of-way put in there for it. And so that's why I asked my German, could she allocate some of that money that y'all got for the road to be put in for us to get to that well to fix it. Right now, we own the city of Mansfield backup water in order to keep pressure up because we without one of the wells. If we had our 3 wells, we'd be running with full power, but we're only running
That's what I'm using.
low pressure. And it costs us quite a bit from the city per month to stay on their water through pressure.
And just to add to what Mr. Vance said, I'm using my ARPA money to take care of this.
Do we have an estimate on how much it's gonna cost, Michael?
Yes, sir. The OPC is about $25,000.
25,000.
And you using your ARPA money?
I'm using my ARPA money, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Do you have a right-of-way to get to it?
Yes, we do.
Okay, because you said you needed a
Just need the
right-of-way.
overlay.
You just need to fix the right-of-way.
That's right.
Okay.
And it's costing them too much to be on the city water. That's why we're trying to get the road fixed so that they can get back in there to get the wells done to help. And again, I'm using my ARPA money for this.
Okay. Any other questions?
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
you said a pipeline came through and then caused this flooding?
Pipeline is probably, I would say, 75, probably 60 yards from the right-of-way, parallel with it. And the water now comes off of that, most of the water comes from that right-of-way for the pipeline. And it floods that area out now so bad that it just stays saturated. Right now, it's probably wet.
Prior to the pipeline coming through, did this area have this problem?
I don't think we did. Not as wet as it is now. We used to can get back there, but now you can't get back there.
I know where you're going with this. Think it should be the fault of the pipeline.
Pipeline.
That's what I'm wondering.
So it'll help. But is that gonna, solve the problem? Because it's still gonna be wet. Sometimes
Well-
rocks fall
Yeah,
when you
but
drive on them
it
when they're
will-
wet.
it will, I think it would help the problem if we had the right-of-way raised up a little bit. And also that we don't have to go back there as much. This probably the first time we have to work on this well in probably 6 years.
And from what I understand, there's no heavy trucks, no big trucks. We're talking an F-150 type truck, road type. It's gonna be a gravel road that they put in.
Okay.
I don't know,
Okay, any more questions?
to get back.
Please vote now.
Thank you.
Like one of those.
Okay,
Motion passes. Item 3, authorize president to sign a corporate endeavor agreement with the town of Keachai for road repair on Lucky Lane and Cloverleaf Drive.
Make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Jimmy Holmes,
Yeah.
second by Ms. Burrell. Any discussion?
This is, ARPA money that I had also.
Okay.
It's y'all money, do what you.
Any more discussion? Please vote now.
Question though,
Go ahead.
You know, I know jury was awarded ARPA money to use in the area, whatever, however they deem fit. But is it necessary for the whole jury to have to vote on that?
I can answer that. Only corporate endeavor agreement.
Only on a corporate endeavor
If
agreement?
it's a lawful expenditure, Ms. Lilly can cut the check with the jury's approval. All the jury does is approve the corporate endeavor. It's already in the budget and approved.
Right. And plus, you know, it's their money. It's
Motion passes.
It's jury money, you know, to use as you see fit.
Cause I would've accepted it if she had said it was her money at first. I was thinking it was the jury. When she said it was her money, I ain't got no problem with it. That's her money.
All right, motion passes. Item 4, authorize the road department to clean out ditches, drainage ditches at the Logan Sports Cemetery off of Highway 5, approximately 75 feet.
So move.
Community
Motion-
center.
Community Center.
Is this,
Motion by
This is
Mr.
not the
Arnell.
cemetery.
what, is that the cemetery?
Oh, that's the,
This is not
okay.
the,
It's not the center, yeah, this is Community Center, where's that come from?
Is it the cemetery?
It's a community center up there. The building's not there anymore. Is that correct, Anthony?
Which one? It's two different ones. One where the basketball court is and
Yeah.
the cemetery.
Yeah, the one, now where we have the hoopla court, we have the hoopla court on the other side. This is the other center up on Highway 5.
This ain't the center he was talking about?
It's the center he's talking about.
Okay,
I thought it was a cemetery.
Now,
Community Center Cemetery.
he says cemetery
He said
first.
cemetery,
yeah, he said cemetery.
Yeah, it's cemetery.
but it's on the list.
is this two different projects or the same project?
No, sir.
That's two different projects. The cemetery is one, Lowe's Community Recreation Center is another.
Okay.
That is where we have the basketball court from the New Orleans Pelicans that,
Donated that money.
that the jury had,
Applied for.
we done a dedication over there, and they said they was gonna do a lot of work, but it hadn't been done. It's been 6 years. I've been working on this for 6 years, and the police jury came to Logan and told us what they were gonna do. I have not heard from one juror. I've asked about it, and nothing's been done.
I got on
The
the,
New Orleans Pelicans donated that basketball court to Representative Bagley. He got it for Logansport. The money was given to the jury. It took the jury 2 years after they got the money to do the court. And then they promised that they was gonna come put playground equipment and everything for the smaller kids. Nothing has been done.
yeah, let me clarify that, Mr. Anthony.
Go ahead.
You're correct on that. But this jury also put $50,000 with that grant.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, but let's get it straight, okay? You're making it look like, yeah, we put more money in it than what the grant gave. We got 50,000 for that. You know, we put more money in it than what the grant was. We put 50,000 above that. And the fence,
Right.
the fence pointed Steve, Anthony, over there, so.
The only thing that the Pelicans paid for is striping and 2 basketball goals.
That's it.
We paid 100% of the cost of all that concrete, land clearing and drainage work.
Yes, sir. That's the
Very
truth.
shortly, we will have the half of the parking lot done
Yeah.
and some lighting. And then we are waiting for LGAP money to come in the fall to do the perimeter fencing.
Oh, we are working, Mr. Anthony.
However,
All we getting is a parking lot and fence.
Uh-oh.
We're not getting
cause I
any
gotta
playground
tell you,
equipment
it's
for
June.
the kids. We just getting a parking lot and a fence.
I'm doing what the
Ho- ho-
jury funds.
Hold up, sir. If you're gonna speak, well, you're too late to come up now.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Ms. Burrell.
Cause I did mention about Logansport and that particular thing because I was getting calls out from over there. And when I checked on it, I know how much money was put into it. And I asked the question, only $78,000 was spent. It was $150,000 invested. When I asked what happened to the other money, I hadn't got an answer yet. And I'm just, the truth is the truth. And I just want you to know, I did question that because I was getting a lot of calls from Logansport concerning that hoopla basketball thing. And I was kept asking, but check the record, Miss Garcia. If last time I checked, it was 78,000 spent. Now, if they didn't spend some more, it's since that 78,000.
I'll get that information for you, Ms. Burrell.
Okay.
I just like to say this. Mr. Anthony,
Okay, ho.
Mr. Rose,
Go
I'm
ahead,
gonna say
Mr.
this. I wasn't trying to get into debate with you, Anthony. But, you know, I wanted everybody, including y'all, to know that we spent the jury, the taxpayers, we spent the bulk of that money on that.
I mean,
Like-
don't get me wrong, we
Oh, I
deeply
know.
appreciate it.
Oh, I know.
And I'm just saying that when the jury came and done the dedication, they made promises that they have not kept.
Yep. We'll talk about it after the meeting. We
Mr.
didn't.
Mitchell,
Larry
let's-
Bagley
Mitchell.
did. We didn't.
Let's talk about the cleaning of the ditches. Let's get that
Hey,
over
Mr.
with.
Mitchell, let's talk about cleaning up the ditches.
Okay.
Where's it at?
It is at Logansport Cemetery on Highway 5.
No, this is,
Cemetery, Highway 5.
Community center.
I thought it said the community center.
Highway 5 goes to the OGP plant, like you go to Keachai and Long Street.
Right before
Okay.
you get to the mission.
Right before you get to the old Logansport Rosenwald School.
Okay.
Right there.
That's why I wonder how Highway 5.
So, okay.
It
Okay,
was
put it
the
on
old
board.
community
Okay.
center, right, Anthony?
That
But the,
building is now-
Logansport
it's
Cemetery
not-
off Highway 5.
School.
Yeah.
It's the old school, part of the old school.
Wait a minute.
Who seconded that motion? O'Neill made it, didn't you, O'Neill?
I did.
Ms. Burrell, second.
Now, I just want to point out for the record, before y'all vote on this, the committee, this is private property, and the jury has a policy of not working on private property, but I just,
I asked that man to get us the 2 letters,
yes, sir.
the cemetery and the private landowner.
Yeah, but,
And he agreed to get it.
well, this ain't what this is talking about.
That's what I'm
No.
saying. That's what-
And I ain't even on this committee. He is talking about the old Rosenwald School.
High school, yeah.
On LA 5.
Yeah, not the
Right.
cemetery. We done passed the cemetery.
No.
We've done
Ain't that what this is? Community center?
We use the school as a point to tell you where the cemetery is.
No, I'm not talking about the cemetery. I'm not talking about your cemetery. I'm talking about what's written on this agenda.
They said Logansport.
It says Logansport Community
Community Center
Center
off-
off Highway 5. Where is
What are we
that
doing?
at?
That community center that is speaking of, I guess that Mr. Mitchell put in there, it sits right in the front of the cemetery. That used to be where the people would go after a service, a funeral service or something. It's a part of the cemetery.
So this is the same ditch?
Yes.
Why put on there
Okay.
twice?
Why didn't it say
Please
cemetery ditch?
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask the jury if we're gonna be doing. Hold on. I would like to ask the jury if we're gonna start doing work like this on private property, that every request that y'all make go before the jury in this sense, because I just wanna, just to be clear, it's been communicated to me and to my road department, we're not supposed to be doing work on private property. And now we're gonna start doing work on private property. I'm not opposed to it, I just want to get clear from the jury, if that's what we're gonna do, we can get letters right away, permission to do that,
We want
Well,
to.
yeah,
but
I mean, depending on what we're doing.
Okay.
You can correct me wrong, but you can look it up, Mike, if
Yes,
you
sir.
want to. Louisiana allows those, and Steve can tell me if I'm wrong or right, okay? Steve, you tell me, because we've discussed this before. If there's a drainage problem, this is a drainage problem, but it's not a drainage problem on our road. But Louisiana law allows us to go on private property with permission to fix a drainage problem.
I don't disagree with that, but y'all have taken a position, since I've been administrator, not to do work on private property, drainage work. So I'm getting a mixed message here. I just want to make sure we're clear on this, because
When did we take that position?
it was the first meeting I started, whenever y'all decided not to fix the drainage ditch in North DeSoto Estates. That was on private property. I just we've got to be clear on how we go forward with this. If we can't be inconsistent with the
Well,
with
yeah,
the taxpayer. So
I understand that.
it's my job to raise those concerns, and that's why I'm raising that concern.
What do you think, we're gonna fix cemetery now?
That was you. That was the one behind those houses?
Yes, sir.
Yep, we
Yes, sir.
did,
And
he right.
it's my opinion the jury made a good
Fix them
call on
before,
that, but
Whatever y'all want to do.
it was, y'all made that
Anyway,
call because it was consistent with the policy that y'all have in place that we don't do work on private property.
We don't go to.
But I'll make this argument, that is a public cemetery.
Yes, sir.
It's a public cemetery.
Yes, sir.
That's not a private cemetery.
I don't dispute that, Mr. Bishop.
I'm gonna debate with you, Mike.
All right, any other,
He just saying just clean it out the ditch, right?
As far as I know, he wants to ditch it, dig a small ditch, about 18 inches, not very much, but we're still doing work on private property with public funds. That
Part
was
of it.
raised
Wasn't why they
before,
turned it
so
down, though.
any more?
I'm not trying to scuttle this, I just want to make sure y'all full disclosure.
Yeah.
This is,
Now, no, cause they're gonna open the door wide open for some, they're gonna open the door wide open now, baby, I can see somebody taking advantage
Well,
of
what
that.
we could do, we could recommend that gentleman somebody that might help it.
Yeah.
Y'all remember, I'm gonna remind you all this, I'm gonna
Not the
scrutinize
jury.
everybody, okay?
Now, come on, Dwayne, now.
We did not pass anything saying we were gonna do that, did we, Mike?
We said we was
not to
gonna,
my knowledge, no, sir.
Okay, we did not pass anything saying that we weren't gonna do that. Just some people said that we don't need to do that. So it is not a voted ordinance or something passed by this jury. Y'all can do it next month if you want to, but it's not that way.
okay, I mean, we do the cemetery part, that ain't private property, right? So I don't know
Yes,
what we looking at, but
Cemeteries are typically a committee of a church or an
right side the
organization.
highway,
The cemetery, how far, well, I'm gonna ask you.
Behind the building.
Yeah,
Behind the building.
Actually, the cemetery comes all the way out to the highway.
highway.
okay,
That's what we're trying to do, get the water to drain, so we can build it up to have more cemetery room. That's what we're trying to do.
Most cemeteries have an
It's not
association.
that we
They
just
take
want
care
to
of
ditch,
themselves, and that's what this should be.
except for to get the water off, so we can build it up to have more cemetery room.
yeah, he right now.
Okay, any more discussion? Please vote now.
Get all them no's.
You need to vote yes on this.
Cause they're gonna open the door,
No, sir. You need
Yes,
to,
it
you
is.
need to vote yes on this.
yes it is, everybody gonna be,
You need to vote yes on this.
everybody gonna vote.
Hey, they voted against mine. Okay. They voted against mine because of the price.
I mean, I vote for the cemetery, cause we voted to do the cemetery.
Motion fails.
All right, guys. I'll remind that, Ms. Burrell, when you just had your little project up there.
Well, she voted yes.
She voted yes.
Oh, thank you, Jerry, I can't see that good. I ain't mad at you other guys, but you're wrong.
Item 5, authorize the E911 renaming of Thibodeau Street to Cox Private Lane. They won't change the name of that road that's in my district, it's, that's the family.
Make a motion.
Yeah, it's already a private road, they just changed the name.
Make a motion.
Thank you again,
Motion,
Jerry.
Mr. Jimmy, who seconded?
Me and Ernell,
Arnell,
both of them.
Keith seconded.
Give Ernell credit.
Arnell, credit. Arnell
I
gets
got
credit.
some.
All right, Arnell, you get a hot dog. All right, any questions? Any questions?
No, I'm not mad.
Please vote now.
I didn't state anything untrue.
Motion passes. Authorize the president to sign a change order number 1 for road and drainage improvements on Charlie Jones, Dahl, Mounts, and Nash Roads 2016 FEMA.
So move.
Moved by Arnell, seconded by Ms. Burrell. Any discussion?
I think most of it's Mr. Parker's district.
Please vote now. All right.
We still got more.
Motion passed. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I make a motion.
We adjourn.
We got one more.
Solid waste.
Call the Solid Waste Committee to order. Call for any additions or deletions to the agenda. Hearing none. Is there any guest or public comments? Hearing none. Item 1 is the low award, low quote for portable restrooms.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? We'll vote as soon as it pops up on the screen.
How many are we getting?
Whole screen now.
20.
There's 20 portable restrooms. One at each compactor site, 2 out at the landfill.
They're replacing the vendor.
Speaking of compactor site,
They're just changing vendors.
Yeah, if you, roll call vote, Mr. Mitchell,
aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Mr. Fuller,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Motion passes. Discuss compactor sites in the parish.
So move.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second.
Mr. Baker?
Yes,
I asked for this to be on the agenda, and I will give him credit. Our landfill superintendent's become my Saturday morning buddy. But I get calls every Saturday morning by 11 o'clock that I believe they tell me it's one of the busiest, if not the busiest site, is full, or is 3/4 of the way full. And every time I call, he goes up there and handles it, and it gets unfull pretty quick. But I brought this up because I'm now getting calls, and I think I told Mr. Rowe one day that I got a call from whoever's district is down on 509 that they were closing early. The guy took a picture of the gate shut 24 minutes early before closing time. And so I just brought this up to give Mr. O'Mara some support that he needs to know that he needs to grab that by the horns and get it in shape. And if we're having issues, we need them to fix it. If we got, I think somebody that I spoke to on the jury said if we have to make night runs to empty these things, let's make night runs. Let's do what these people pay a tax to cover this, and they don't need to go and have full signs up on every bin. Now I know I went Saturday myself, and the compactors weren't full, but the 4 or 5 roll-offs were all overflowing with full signs on it. So I appreciate what he's doing, but I want him to continue. And I'm sure some of you guys and girls have the same issue if I'm repeatedly having that issue.
Well, it's not because they not trying, cause I've been visiting the landfill. Sometimes them people be in line 5 or 6 hours, cause we get so many trucks getting, they got the dump to be able to go and replace a thing. And I'm telling you, I sit there and watch. They doing the best they can, cause these trucks be all the way back to the woods to round the corner. And if they can't get in there and dump, they can't. I feel like they doing a good job for trying to make it happen. It's just impossible. They can't.
How many trucks do we have? How many operators?
2, 4, I don't know.
4. And how many come back to say we have?
18.
18.
And I dump 100 and something loads of stone wall a month. I think Reggie's about 60. South Mansfield.
Yep.
100 loads a month. Did 430 loads, 429 loads. And I can tell you, we looked at ordering some 30-yard dumpsters, big dumpsters, talked to Greg about that. Talked about this action we've been discussing. There's some things, waste harmonics on the compactors. First one we're gonna put in is at Linwood. Then we're gonna put the other two at Stonewall, then South Mansfield, and Friars, and back around our busiest sites, Logansport's one. We know our issues and we're working on it, and it's gonna come together. It's just this time of year, it's busy. Saturdays is crazy. Stonewall up there, good. We need to be looking at another site up there between it and Linwood to grow that thing, to give it the room. I mean, that is a madhouse in there on that corner. I think we all should take a look at that. I mean, it's been on my mind a good bit.
Chairman Baker would like a one in his district.
No.
And I think some of the problem are also that a lot of people want to throw their trash or garbage in the open tops instead of in the compactor. Compactor is supposed to be the first priority option you want to put your garbage in versus the open top.
They're full too.
You don't think y'all getting in that cattle trash, do you?
I mean, you never could say never, but
Yeah.
the Linwood station is probably it's probably the least visited site we have. And that would be the one that would get it. The one down there at the corner of 3276.
Yeah, but
I don't.
kind of pretty good ways
It's
from.
it's a long way from Caddo. They'd have to pass a couple of theirs to get there.
Yeah.
Linwood was closed at 11 o'clock today. I drove by there.
Closed between 10:30.
Yeah, it closes at midday every day.
What about Oxford, the Oxford compact
Same.
site, cause it be open, I mean, it be closed sometime.
Same.
Twelve o'clock.
Hours they said.
They supposed to close around 10:30.
Just mine are full every
Ten
single.
thirty
11,
in the morning.
11, yeah.
I know you've been
Open up
looking
again
at
at
the,
2 o'clock.
Hang on, we
That's-
got too many conversations going on.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
That's what that
David, I know y'all been checking in on this compactor truck that can actually compact the trash in the open tops. What's the status of that right now?
Well, I've talked to the lady up there with this company, you know, we talked about it being a franchise, and, so they're wanting to do a proposal on 3 sites up in the northern end of the parish, just to see if the truck's gonna work for us. And like I told the lady, I said, we've got to buy the truck, I mean, we can't pack them, because I've got so many dumps. We're gonna hire an operator ourselves to run the vehicle, but they want to try this to see if it's gonna be a benefit to us. So I talked with Greg earlier about getting a proposal for him to do that for a little bit, just to see how this is going.
So it's still on the books to be something, maybe considering this and everything. Thank you.
Well, it is, the people who do it, they basically build the truck themselves. And since they sell it as a franchise deal, they just don't want to sell us a truck unless we're in the franchise. So we're trying to get out of the franchise part of it and get them to allow us just to buy the truck so we can operate the truck ourselves.
Maybe we just need to build our own truck.
They have to go take a lot of pictures of one of their trucks to be able to copy. Does anybody else have anything else? I realize that we're having some problems with these compactor sites. I get calls, even though I don't say a lot about it, about the Stonewall site. And it is a very busy place. The road construction on 3276 has not even slowed it down. If anything else, it's increased it, because now people cannot even get in and out of it. So it's a nightmare there, and it's something we do need to look at getting another piece of property for it. And I always said the compactor site did not cause the problem at that intersection. It was there first. The inhabitants caused the problem. The growth. So we'll see if we can find it someplace. Anybody have anything else?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Insurance committee.
Insurance committee called to order. Call for additions and deletions. Seeing none, guests and public comments. Being none, insurance items, number 1, allow DeSoto Fire District Number 2 to place employee or employees under the police jury's health insurance program with no cost to the jury and waiving the 1-year waiting period.
Make a motion.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Holmes and
Second.
second by Mr. Mitchell.
I put this on the agenda because the fire district had an employee that, they just hired a new, fire chief and wanted to get him on the insurance policy, and they had the 1-year waiting period. Actually, I wanted to just waive the waiting period altogether. It's not just for Fire District 2. I was gonna waive the 1-year waiting period. No one could actually tell me what the reason for putting the 1-year waiting period in existence, but I think the jury passed this several years ago for some reason or another. But I just thought we could just do away with the 1-year waiting period for these entities such as the fire district to get an employee on there.
So as it stand, they're an employee for 1 year before they
Are able to get on our insurance, yes.
What is the waiting period for an employee that the parish hires?
There is no waiting period. They get on it, they get on it, and after 90 days, they can start going, but they're immediately covered.
I didn't know that was a 1 year.
I remember passing this years ago, but and me and Jimmy talked about this. He called me, a month or so ago.
About a month or so ago, yeah.
And I told him I remembered this being passed, but I could not tell him for sure why we passed it.
No, I can't remember it being passed.
trying to wait to see if they're gonna stay.
Mr. Fuller?
I was just curious, I was trying to remember, did anybody know why, when it was done, so that's me.
I remember doing it.
Okay.
Okay, what
Let's
kind
make
of
a motion
insurance
and,
This is health insurance.
Would it be breaking the law if we do it, Ms. McKay?
oh, no.
Yeah, I would say.
Well, I don't, is the motion gonna be, is there an alternate motion that is gonna be for any entity?
I would make an alternate motion for any entity, yes. I'll make an alternate motion and have it to just do away with the
1-year waiting
1-year
period?
waiting period altogether.
That's what I thought you said that was your original intent, that's
Well,
why I
that's what
asked.
I wanted to be on here.
It wasn't a
but that's not
requirement from the insurance company,
saying
was
it
it?
on here.
New hires are automatically.
I guess my question, if it was put there for a reason, apparently,
It wasn't a requirement
Well, I
from the
don't wanna-
insurance company, was it?
huh?
It wasn't a requirement from the insurance company, was it?
I don't know, that's why for us to just get rid of it, and we don't know why it was put there, let's
Usually,
do some research on it, Mr.
Why don't we
Holmes?
pass it and check
I
on
did a little
it
research. I
and
was
vote on it for full jury?
more or less kind of led to believe it was something that Melissa wanted. It was a lot of trouble for her to add an employee to the insurance. And then 6 months later, they changed jobs and they have to take them off. So it was putting the employees on, taking the employees off. But,
I think a year is a
so
long time.
that was
though.
more or less what I was led to believe. May or may not have been the reason.
Mr. Kennington?
in group policies, new hires are always eligible immediately. It's the other ones that have passed the open enrollment, like current employees that passed the open enrollment period and decide they want insurance. They have to have a life-changing event, whether a baby, a marriage, a separation, a husband lost a job, those kind of qualifications.
If not against the law, I so move. For Mr. Did you make that motion, Mr. Holmes?
I said I would make an alternate motion to waive the 1-year waiting period for all entities, yes.
And I second.
Well, you have to make the motion, Mr. Fuller.
Now, if we do that,
Go ahead.
if we do that, then we would be required to, as Mr. Kennington states, they wouldn't be able to get on it until open enrollment period. And open enrollment period occurs every 1 year. That's probably in the vein of what they were talking about prior to, this all occurred prior to me, so it would be, so if we wanted to pull another organization in, we could do that, but they would just have to wait for the open enrollment, because that doesn't qualify, in my opinion, that wouldn't qualify as a life-changing event type situation. I suspect that's why y'all did that.
Getting insurance is a life-changing event.
Oh, you sure? gotta wait to open.
Yeah.
It is.
Wait to open.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. I think we're just eliminating the policy of the jury. Now,
Correct.
what the particular requirements are for the health insurance would be individually evaluated by the insurer for their particular reasons. But yes, if they're a new hire, they get, they're eligible, and then generally there are certain triggering conditions, as Mr. Kennington said, that trigger eligibility, loss of insurance from another job or other things like
In other
that.
words, the employee I'm speaking of was a new hire,
Right,
so he would be eligible immediately.
right. And then if,
But he could not get on our insurance because we have a 1-year waiting period.
right, but if somebody's hired next month, they don't have a 1-year waiting period, they'll be eligible.
Immediately.
Right, or if somebody's been there 3 months and their spouse currently
Or you're
has the
talking about an
insurance and they
employee
lose it.
that's, hired as a new fire chief, he's married, he's got children, he needs insurance.
Yes, sir. I mean, say for hypothetically, same fire department, they don't have a new hire, but they just decide they want to go on the
Understand that,
jury's.
yes.
You know, they would be
have to
subject
wait
to
till
the
the
qualifying period that
qualifying
we
period,
are
that's
as
right.
well as a jury, so.
But we're gonna vote on the alternate motion. Any more discussion on that? All right, please vote.
Jody, do you have the alternate motion?
Yes, it's up.
Okay. No, that's the original motion. That's not the alternate.
Read it off, read it off.
Okay. My eyes are going.
If we find out any more information by the next meeting,
Me too.
Motion passed. Discuss and take action to select group employee benefits broker services.
so moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Fuller,
Second.
second by Mr. Boyd. Ms. Simpson, to me.
Can you tell me what this is? Just another salary?
No, ma'am, this is, well, I'll let, Lily prepared all this information. I'm gonna let her talk on this.
Okay, we've been, I guess, several brokers, different brokers have approached us, put in proposals for us. So what we did was, we got, 4 proposals that's in your packet for your review. One of those is our current broker that we use, that they put that, and then we have 3 additional. I actually got an email from Mormon and Moore Company withdrawing that proposal just a few minutes ago, like at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So that leaves us with 2 new other brokers. Ms. Burrell, the brokers, what they do is they go out in the market around September, October, and they bring us the actual carriers' proposals, like United Health, Blue Cross, Aetna, all of those. The current broker that we have been with them approximately, 30-plus years, long time. But, we have been approached. I was approached last year. I told them, I said, we didn't have enough time to submit proposals to y'all for reviewing. We did not have adequate time to go through the whole request for proposals. This year, they pretty much called me around March, the end of March, so I was able to get those 4 proposals, and I'm presenting that to you so you could kind of let me know whether we stay with the same broker that we have or if you want to switch. My recommendation out of reading through the proposals, I have Hub International that I really like their proposal. They gave me a very strategic plan, a whole year of how they expect to get us where we want to be, from open enrollment through
strategic meetings every quarter, trying to see where our claims are. They have a large area market to where they can be very competitive out there and get us, some good quotes from the carriers. That's my take on that. I sent that to y'all way ahead of time, just see if you could have some time to read over that yourselves. I did some little cliff notes just on all four of them, what my take on that was. But we'll have to take action so we can go ahead and get a broker in place so they can go out in the market when the market opens in September, to be able to get all that information as far as the cost, if we're going to have to go up, whether we're going to still do 75% and 25% and get premiums. So that actually takes place in October. So you don't want to have 4 different brokers out there getting this information for us, because you're not going to get United Health, all of them, to give a quote to 4 different people. So this is for y'all to either decide to stay with who we have, or you can choose out of, now 3 selections.
I'll go first if nobody else wants to.
Go ahead.
So in dealing with group insurance, insurance companies don't mind giving the same quote to different broker services, because the broker services each charge independently what they want as far as their commission. So Blue Cross Blue Shield might quote $1 to 5 companies, to 5 brokers, but those 5 brokers can have very different compensation plans when they submit a proposal to us. They might all be different cost to us. The other thing is, most companies nowadays are switching to what's called self-insured with catastrophic coverage. I noticed one of those. I actually read everything you sent a couple weeks ago. One of those, I think it's DeSoto Parish maybe.
Yes.
That went to self-insured with catastrophic coverage. I know that's what our institution does, and it's a tremendous savings. But I just want to caution you guys on, I don't see a tremendous need in selecting one broker. I think you need to spend time getting your total number of enrolled people, whether we're adding Fire District 2 or adding Fire District 1 or any other entity, and know that number pretty well, because they'll take that.
All of them have that information. They all got the whole census of the health information that we have. They all got the claim information from the last 2 years. All of them have that information. From meetings between where me and Mr. Norton sat with them, they're telling me it's like a hard thing to go out there into the market to get those other companies.
They're telling you that because they want you to sign a deal with them and commit to them up front. I promise you, we do it every year. We shop 4 or 5 different brokers, and if anybody comes in the door and says we can save you money, we always listen. Now, we don't always move, but we always listen. And that changes. I mean, we had the same broker that's a personal friend of the people that make the decisions at the office that we used for 8 years. And then all of a sudden he was way off. And somebody else was a lot cheaper and offered a better plan. I'm just saying, I don't know of a reason why you would select one now. I'd say you let them all go free market, all get their proposals and come in with ideas. Now, they don't all need to come in this room with ideas. They can meet with y'all. And whoever, I think y'all have an insurance committee, if I'm mistaken. I think Ms. Shelton was on that last couple years ago when y'all talked to people too. But they can come propose stuff to you guys, and then y'all bring a couple of those to us.
Now, I'm just from the property and casualty insurance, just to let you know, though, they do require a letter, an authorization letter. Whenever we have a broker already in place, the other brokers do need an authorization letter. So I guess my take on this will be, I just need Cho to give us permission to actually sign that letter, and then if that's the way you want to go, whether, they go all of 4 out to the market, but there is a letter you have to sign.
This is life and health. That's P&C insurance, two totally separate license, totally separate
That's
things.
what I had last year too, when I had one of the group insurance, the health ones wanted me to sign a letter.
You do, so they know, and
Correct.
basically, so United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, any of those other companies that serve Louisiana, it's just so they know that they're gonna be giving that quote to multiple companies.
Correct. So I'm just asking this jury to authorize Mr. Norton or myself that it is okay to sign that letter.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Parker, that we allow Ms. Garcia and Mr. Norton to sign that letter.
You know, say something?
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Fuller, would you restate that for me, please?
That we allow Ms. Garcia or Mr. Norton to sign the letter that she's talking about, so we can get this done.
Any discussion on the alternate motion?
Yes, sir. Ms. Garcia, I appreciate you looking for other companies, cause the broker we done had since I've been a police year comes to us with the same company, and I keep preaching to y'all they ain't worth a flip. I was faced with $100,000 worth of hospital bills. And y'all know, I'd say this every year. We might need to change brokers. I think we outgrown those brokers there, and I think some of the office people got a little too close with them. They've been in here that many years, so it's got to involve. We need to change to somebody different. We need some new blood to see what's better for us. That's gonna cost taxpayers less to insure us and our employees.
Anybody else want to discuss this?
No, this vote.
Before we vote, and I may be completely wrong on this. I'll let anybody in here, I'll tell you this, I'm not an insurance person. Ms. Garcia knows that, and Mr. Norton knows it. Anybody that served on the insurance committee knows my feelings about insurance. The question I've got on my mind, and I've talked to Mr. Ross about it earlier tonight, is why is it that we have to go out and start looking for a broker without a cost? They don't give us any cost to what we're fixing to do. You're talking about changing to an insurance company that you don't know what it's gonna cost us to start with until we've changed. Why? Can we change our time to do this insurance? Do we have to buy insurance in January? Can we postpone our insurance to March or April, May or June? Where we know what the cost is before we ever sign a contract. That's my question on this whole situation.
You had to have open.
We can't avoid this trap that we've got into with these insurance companies.
Well, I think you might be conflating the insurance cost versus the broker service fee, essentially. That's what you're talking about, the broker service fee.
I don't know what the broker brings us the cost of the insurance, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. The market's open nationwide in October 1st.
Exactly.
Why do we have to buy it in October then? Why can't we wait till later on in the year?
You
We
don't.
can go to, we're going to a broker now and saying, we want to get insurance, give us a price. So, tell us what you can do for us. He's not giving us a price. He's just telling us what his program does. Then we decide, okay, we want to go with this company. Now give us a price. We've said we're going to go with you, and now we're going to get the price. That's why I like just going down to a car dealership and saying, I want that car, and don't even ask the price of it.
Well, I'd point out the most logical response to why we don't do it in January or March is we have to prepare a budget for the next year So the budget kind of process, the budgeting process begins usually August, September, October. Markets open in October, so we can have a number for the budget for the next year. That's why we've done it that way. Now, we could explore not doing that until March of next year, but then you would be amending the budget for that year.
We've been amending it every week we come up here to a meeting.
I've
Don't
never
see no
done
difference
that.
in-
We
in
can,
doing
we
it
can,
For the insurance, as to doing it for the road department or any other department up here. We amend the budget every meeting.
Mr.
I
Parker,
thought the-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The U.S. government requires open enrollment for everywhere, the Social Security, or us, anybody. And when you get the robocalls, it's open enrollment, and they blow up your telephone trying to get you to take this and take that. I think we required to do open enrollment, right?
There's laws that you have to have open enrollment in a certain period of time, but there's no 1 month that you do it in. We do ours in April, and we get competitive rates. I don't even know what you're talking about in October, but I can tell you we start our process in January, and they start getting numbers for us in January, and we make a decision by the end of April.
You don't actually buy your package then until.
We don't make a decision till the end of April, or middle end of April, and then we do open enrollment in May, and then it rocks on the rest of the year. You're probably I haven't looked at it, and I've never served on insurance, but probably with ours, we sign a contract and we start that in October, and we keep it till October and renew it in October. You could hypothetically, and I'm not an insurance guy, but I'm involved enough. You could hold over. They call it a term in October. You could not renew and carry on till January and then renew in January. You could change your own time, but you'd have to work that out with your insurance company and your broker that you have at that time.
I'm just asking a question.
Good, you got that right.
Any more discussion on the alternative motion?
Already voted.
Not, please vote now. Motion passes.
They're closed.
Motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.
Personnel committee.
Personnel committee called to order. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Guests and public comments. Personnel item, authorized to hire an executive assistant for parish administrator and amend the budget. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
Person?
We got a salary, Mr. Norton?
Yes, sir, it's attached to the salary range.
Yeah, that's right, I did.
Assistant, and behind that is the actual costs for the employee, because you know, the benefits and everything. We have, and it's my intent, we now have a part-time position that's currently open. If y'all allow for me to hire an assistant for myself, we'd basically do away with that part-time position, absorb some of the cost using that's already been authorized.
Who's in that part-time position?
Well,
Is that-
it's vacant.
It's vacant?
It's been vacant
Oh,
for
okay.
over a year.
Okay, didn't want to get rid of nobody that was working already.
I want to say about this position. We done created, I know 9 new salaries. 9 of them. New salaries that the police jury is paying out. I know the last 2 years we have. Now, we have an assistant. How that assist for we had
Mr. Brown.
That's who we had to be an assistant to the parish administrator. Why isn't he his assistant? We gonna create a whole new. We can't keep creating these salaries because that's why we ain't gonna have no money to pay for no roads and nothing else to do nothing, cause we gonna be spending them all up in salaries. And I totally disagree. We can't keep creating these salaries, like I say. And most of them don't even come up under the police jury. We paying salaries for other people, like the DA's office, the coroner's office. See what I'm saying? Not only we create salary, we can't create salary, we raising the amounts. We need to think about and take a long look at what we're doing, how much these salaries costing us. We need a new jail right now. We need to suck that up in salaries. We just can't keep doing it. We're gonna have to start making wise decisions with these people's money. Well, with our money, because I'm a taxpayer too. So, I totally disagree. I think Mr. Norton need a system. It need to be the one that we hire. And that's how I feel about it. Because, like I say, we can't keep doing that. This will be number 10. I can name them straight up out the front door, because y'all know I done had a problem with creating all these salaries in the first place.
You mean Brian?
Brian. Yep, that's who we hired for the administrative assistant.
Now, I'd like to respond to that if I could.
That's Brian what he do, but
The job description y'all hired him under, you're right. He was hired as the executive administrative assistant to the parish administrator. However, the job duties are greatly different than the ones that are in this job description. His job duties include doing a lot of grant work for the jury, which y'all had no one to do that before. And 50%, if not probably up to 70% of his job now is just tracking and monitoring and going after those grants. If the jury wants us to continue grants, it's my intent we're probably gonna get rid of that title. And we're currently working, HR's working on getting a job description for a grant coordinator / engineering tech, someone, because that job is within an engineering department.
With all due respect, Amanda used to do the same thing, Brian. She wrote the grants and everything. She still was the administrator. So yes, we did. Before he got here, we had somebody writing, they did all of it. She really did. She did it. I know, because I used to take trips with her when we was chasing the grants. So, and I took some of the grant classes with Amanda. She was doing exactly what he was doing. I believe he can handle it. Me, honest, can you handle it? See what I'm talking about? He can handle it. See what I'm talking about?
Just gotta act.
And really, honestly, I respect Mr. Norton, but I don't want to see none of the employees from DeSoto Parish. And that's just the truth. We gonna be running DeSoto Parish program after a while. And I just got a strange feeling that if we pass this, that's where they coming from. Now, we can't keep doing DeSoto Parish and family and friends. We got enough family members in these offices, the whole family reunion. I'm totally against that. I really am.
You don't like Miss Garcia?
Yeah, I like Miss Garcia. I'm sorry, but the truth is the truth. We need to think about what we're doing. We might need to go back to the old program where the jury got some say-so in this, because we done lost control. How many people, y'all think about how many of these people working up on this jury? They working out of other offices on the other people. We just paying the salary. We footing the bill. Any other comments?
Have we tried moving anybody? Or is there any, I mean, there's gotta be somebody somewhere that we can try in that position and reallocate their job duties.
Yeah, I can try to remove Brian, but
I didn't
don't
say
have
Brian,
anybody.
I'm just saying, how many employees do we have?
Oh, goodness.
Ms. Shelton?
You mean administration or?
Any
In the parish
total,
wide.
anywhere.
These requirements.
But
It
you're,
needs
you're
to be
mo-
Grant, that's who we
you have to
hire.
move him to a position, and we don't have a position.
Well, we didn't create the position of grant writing.
Not yet. That's something that's,
So how did he get moved to grant writing if he was hired as?
that was in his original job description. If you look at the original job description, it says over 50% of his responsibilities are going to be grants.
So his original description didn't include any of this stuff?
No, very little of
Just said grant writing.
I didn't say that. I said a part of his job description said over 50% grants work for the jury, for the parish administrator at that time.
Has he been doing some of these?
Ms. Fuller.
Not trying to put Mr. Brown on the spot, how many grants have we gotten?
We got the EDA grant in your district, which was $2 million, which is probably the largest grant in the last 10, 15 years out of the parish. We got this lighting grant for all of our buildings, which was over $200,000, which is outstanding. We do the lower ones that are probably 50,000 to 80,000, somewhere there, which is the LGAP and CWIF grants. Like the gentleman was talking about earlier, the hoopla grants, I got them.
All those grants come from
$1,000
CDC.
or more for it. We got $65,000 for, our current CWIF grant for water districts. The other one we did in your district for Staten, we got that $16,125. I could go on and on, we've got.
So has he
We're working on a lot of them. They take a long time to get, to answer. They're kind of trying to transition my job into doing more grant writing so we can get more money for the parish. And I know Mr. Norton and I had a conversation of the different job duties and responsibilities for this new position. So it's kind of one of those things, if you're transitioning me to more grants, then yes, I can do, over that 50%. I would even say 75, 80%, because everybody knows we just got a new phone system the last 2 weeks. So I was spending time talking to everybody sitting up here. At least 20% of my job was answering the phone, helping Miss Cynthia when she goes to lunch. You have people that are visitors. I open the door for everybody up front to let them through. I go up there, and there's a multitude of different things that I do other than the grant writing. But what Mr. Norton is needing is somebody to be his actual assistant to help him with whatever the other job duties we're discussing earlier. There's about 4 or 5 new tasks to be back up for Miss Jody. She doesn't have it back up for her at all. She was out, I don't remember what it was, earlier in the year or sometime last year, and we were scrambling within the department to get the agendas ready, or just something that she would consider an easy task for her, but it's something that we don't ever do. So we're having to, either I was doing something or Brittany was doing something. So there's a lot more involved in just creating this new position, but it's kind of like, how do you transition me into this other role? But he's gonna have at least 5 or 6 other job duties and responsibilities to help. I don't remember what were the other 3 other.
Oh, occupational license,
Yeah,
occupational license collections.
We have other duties that are, other coworkers that are swamped in some of their areas that they do, that they can relieve them of some of that work. And that's what the new person will be doing, instead of me doing those functions with that. So I mean, with my capabilities to do the extra grant work, I can't throw out numbers, but I would say, probably $3 or $4 million that I brought in just in 4 years. And that was probably triple what any of those people did in the 10 years prior to me.
And grants take a lot of time and a lot of, you gotta sit at the desk, sit on a phone for hours with these grants. You have to, or you will lose on these grants. The application, we just finished an application, took, I don't even know how long it took. I know Tom helped in the engineering department, helped put that together. It was for one of our Louisiana Watershed Initiative grants. It took a long time. I don't know. I mean, it took days for them to fill that application out. And the sheer amount of bureaucracy that's required with these grants, you can be sitting on a table or on the website filling out an application, and if you don't click one button right, they make you start all over again. It is a very difficult process that Brian has to deal with.
So honestly, you cannot handle 4 more tasks, Brian.
Probably not to the extent to
Yeah.
help my coworkers out in the way that they would need it. For me to be back up with Jody, the task that Mr. Norton needs for his administrative assistant type task, and those other tasks for occupational licenses.
Right.
When was you doing all those tests at first? That's what I thought. When we hired you, you wouldn't assign all those tests, right?
What task are you referring to?
The helping out the co-workers and all this, that, and the other. I mean, it just sounds like it's a lot been added to your job description. I like to see what your job description was when we hired you in. Cause which one would it be? Less for us to hire a grant writer or hire a assistant? Cause, I'm telling y'all, looking at this salary,
Actually, this salary is less than what Brian was hired at, for the record.
well, that's why we need to keep Brian.
Brian, who actually writes the grants?
I do most of the research depending on what the project is. Like I said, we did the EDA grant, and you, Mr. Fuller, brought the idea into the office, and then I researched it for,
And CDC wrote the grant.
no, sir, I wrote it. It was almost.
You wrote it,
200
but they administered it.
The only thing CDC wrote was maybe 1 page out of the 200 pages that I did. So it was probably 400 pages of instructions how to do the 200 pages. And then the other portion of it, the engineers have to go in, and they did all the, what they're working on now is environmental and all the other stuff with the different.
Did you just write the $800,000 grant for the city of Mansfield on sewer?
I missed that last.
The $800,000 grant for the city of Mansfield on sewer?
No, sir, I didn't.
I didn't think you did. Better look at the new rules.
Call for the question, Mr. Chair. Getting late.
That is the chair.
Well, it's gotten late.
Okay. Any more? He called for the question, so we vote.
Yes.
Please vote.
That's my bedtime.
One remaining?
Oh, that's me. Oh, just one quick question. I'm sorry.
No more questions?
I apologize, but I have a question.
Come on, Miss-
Well, I'm
come
gonna
on, Miss
ask
Sims.
it.
Yeah, ask a question, no?
Come on, tell us.
The 47,000 to the range, will that person start at this low end?
Depends on who applies for the job and their qualifications.
Okay.
I can't answer that.
Okay.
Motion failed. Motion to adjourn.
So move. Second. I want to get it.
All in favor, aye? We'll adjourn. Thank y'all. Have a good night.
Let me ask my question. That's what I want to ask for.